OTC. 1 pill a day. 24 hours. Zero heartburn. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
DQ presents How to Find Meal Fulfillment. First, order the delicious new rotisserie-style chicken bites from DQ. Then feast your eyes on these unbreaded, tender, juicy, 100% white meat beauties. Next, take a bite of the bite. Realize that unbreaded chicken loaded with flavor is finally possible. And last, call your boss and ask for that promotion. You may have started last week, but hey, if chicken this good is possible, anything is possible. New rotisserie-style chicken bites are now at DQ. Happy tastes good.
When the forgotten poor are in need of healing, they wait for a ship unlike any other. Mercy Ships, a floating hospital staffed by volunteers, heroes of mercy who donate their time to save lives.
Every human has the right to have a place at the table of the human race.
If you could just see the smiles that you get when lives have been changed, then it would make it all worth it.
To learn more about Heroes of Mercy, go to mercyships.org.
Matt Blatt Nissan is now open on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, next to Home Depot, and online at mattblattnissan.com. Help us celebrate when you get out of that old car, truck, or SUV and into a brand new Nissan with the Matt Blatt Nissan Fast Track Checkout. Available online at mattblattnissan.com. Our non-touch delivery and electronic paperwork ensures your safety comes first. Plus, Matt Blatt Nissan wants your trade. Bring it in today and help us celebrate the all-new Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, or visit us online, mattblattnissan.com.
It's crunchy!
Creamy!
Sweet.
Salty. Nature Valley sweet and salty peanut bars, bursting with crunchy peanuts, dipped in creamy nut butter coating.
Delicious.
Nature Valley.
South Jersey's play-by-play home for the Eagles,
Touchdown!
Sixers,
Oh yeah!
and Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station.
This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Blatt Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
We are live on a Monday. This is the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app, and, of course, watch the show live on our website, 97.3ESPN.com. I'm your host, Mike Gill. Josh Henning is producing today's show. What's going on, everybody? Hope you had a nice weekend. I sure enjoy being back on a Monday with you guys, as there's so much to dive into. So let's jump right in and get your reactions at 609-403-0973 on the text board, 609-403-0973. If you have visited the website today, 97.3ESPN.com, you will see a plethora of new Eagles news that happened this morning, and we will dive into that. Football at 4, Jeff Mosher. Very much looking forward to this. The big story that really jumps out this morning is the fact that Chris Mortensen reporting that the Philadelphia Eagles owner, Jeffrey Lurie, has essentially listened to the Sports Bash and listened to my plea of just going with Jalen Hurts. I don't know that he listened to the Sports Bash, but it makes a better story. I have asked pretty much since they traded Carson Wentz to just, hey, give the kid Hurts a chance. Let's go that direction, draft a player at number 6, and move on. Well, according to Chris Mortensen today, the Eagles owner, Jeffrey Lurie, has, quote, instructed his group to prioritize making Jalen Hurts successful as opposed to creating true competition. I don't have any problem with that. It's something that I asked for last week is, look, let Hurts be the guy. Go out there and draft some weapons for either him or the defensive side of the ball. Find out if he can play the position, and then let's make an assessment there. You drafted this guy in the second round. Let's try to justify a second-round pick that looked a little wonky. One that I supported, but let's see if the kid can play. I supported it for a variety of reasons, one of which was, hey, Carson Wentz has always been hurt. They put a lot of money into the backup quarterback position. So I'm not sitting here telling you when they drafted him, I thought this would be the scenario that, hey, all of a sudden this team would be going to Jalen Hurts as their franchise starting quarterback his second year in the league. But you drafted him. Wentz is no longer here. Let's find out if the guy can play. I do not want to see them draft a quarterback in the first round. I've been saying that. And I feel like this Mortensen report at least makes me feel that Jeffrey Lurie is on the same page. The question becomes, how do we feel about Jeffrey Lurie having so much say? I know he's the owner, and I know that's the way that it goes, but how do we feel about him having so much say in the matter? Like, if Jeff Lurie is the one saying, I like what Lurie's saying, but how much do we like Lurie having the say? It's his team. He can say whatever he wants. And here's a question that I would have. Has Lurie had this much say throughout his ownership? And if he has had this much say throughout his ownership, maybe I don't feel so bad. I mean, they've been a successful franchise. It's not like the team's ever been a complete dumpster fire for more than a year. You know, they don't have elongated stretches where they have been a losing franchise. So we don't know that Jeff Lurie has had a lot of say in the past. We haven't heard that he has. It's starting to come out now that he's got a lot more say. So there's like a seesaw battle that I'm having here. I like Lurie's message. I don't like that Lurie has the message. 609-403-0973. This is Mort. Chris Mortensen was on the ESPN mock draft special. It ran over the weekend, and I feel like it kind of got lost in the sauce a little over the weekend. I read something last night about this Mort report, but I didn't really see anything because I didn't see the show. And then this morning, it was kind of all over the place. In fact, Mort himself addressed it on Twitter. But this is what he said on the NFL mock draft special.
Jalen Hurts is the guy. Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the Eagles, has basically sent the message to his personnel department and his general manager, Howie Roseman, that he wants to do everything he can to help Jalen Hurts be successful and not bring in somebody to compete for the job. Now, they have a new head coach, Nick Sirianni. He understands that's what the owner wants. What the owner wants, the owner gets.
The owner wants, the owner gets. What the owner wants, the owner gets. That's the story right there. What the owner wants, the owner gets. So saying the owner wants Jalen Hurts to be the quarterback is a smart situation. The question really is, you can't fire the owner. So is Howie Roseman on board with this? Or is this a way for the owner to kind of shield his GM that he knows everybody out there essentially does not like, so that, hey, the message will be that I'm the one that wants Jalen Hurts to be the starter? I don't know how I feel about that part of it, but what I do feel is I like the fact that I like the messaging. I like the messaging here as a fan of this team moving forward. I would prefer to see Jalen Hurts be the starting quarterback over Trey Lance, over Zach Wilson, over Justin Fields. Look, those guys, one of them might be better than Hurts. I don't know if all of them are better than Hurts, but I am fine with Jalen Hurts being the quarterback of this team. I do not have issue with that. I don't go into this whole draft thing saying they have got to get a better quarterback. I don't feel that way. How many out there feel like, no, they need a quarterback? This would be the thing that I would be a little bit more intrigued to find out more information. This is Chris Mortensen.
One thing that happened with the Eagles, which it screams to me why Jamar Chase should be in play for this pick, is that they did not stay true to their draft board. And their personnel department has a lot of Ozzie Newsome disciples from Baltimore. Ozzie always stays true to the draft board. Somehow they got off the draft board, and at number 21, they took Jalen Reagor, the wide receiver, instead of Justin Jefferson, who had a higher grade on the Eagles board.
Why did that happen? Who got off the draft board last year? We'll never know. Joe Show's watching on YouTube. What's up, Joe Show? He says, I don't think this is Lurie being too involved. Probably the best decision of the offseason. That's an interesting comment. Why do you feel like this isn't Lurie being too involved? Who makes this decision? Who's the one that says Jeff Lurie is basically instructing people to build around Jalen Hurts? In other words, if he's Jeff Lurie, he's going to his scouting department, he's going to his general manager, he's going to his personnel people, and he says, hey, don't go out there and draft a quarterback. We already have a quarterback. That's essentially what he's saying. That's what the report's suggesting anyway. Mortenson's report also suggests that there is not internal unanimity, if that's a word that he uses there, that there isn't a unanimous feel inside the Eagles front office. Like, it is not across the board that everybody in there, there is not agreement by all the people involved, if you will. There's not a consensus here by the Philadelphia Eagles front office. This is, I don't want to say the owner going rogue, but this is the owner essentially putting his foot down and instructing everybody in that personnel department. You guys are not going to look at quarterbacks here. So take them off your draft board, essentially. Now, it sounds like, according to this report, Chris Mortensen, ESPN, have no reason to believe that he's not on board with, or that the reporting would be off, that Lurie wants Hurts to be the starting quarterback, but he has been pretty clear in the past about about Jalen Hurts.
Last year, the owner was in favor of drafting Jalen Hurts. That created a ripple effect.
So you heard there. You have a situation where the owner likes the quarterback, Jalen Hurts, enough so that he traded another quarterback that he liked, Carson Wentz. Now, Mortensen, if you remember, they said back in February that the team traded Wentz and that they intended to bring in competition for Hurts. Now, all of a sudden, reversing course, this is a pretty quick change of events, don't you think? All of a sudden, out of nowhere, they have decided Hurts is the guy. I don't have a problem with it. What are you guys out there? 609-403-0973. Thomas Conley is watching on YouTube, says, I love the move. I'm on board with it, Thomas. I like Hurts. B. Lizzle is watching on YouTube. They leaked this to get calls about pick number 6. Hey, if that's what they had to do to get calls on pick number 6, I'm okay with that too, because I don't want a quarterback at 6, and I'm okay listening to calls to move out of that pick. I don't have a problem with that either. So, B, I'm on board with that. If they can get calls from Carolina, if they can get calls from Denver, I think there are 8 and 9 in this draft, I'm all about moving down a couple of spots. The question will be, if I move down a couple of spots, what's my board look like? The wide receivers are interesting. Look, the way that I break down the wide receivers, okay? So I did a lot of wide receiver watching this weekend. Last week I watched a lot of Pitts. This week I watched a lot of receivers. This is how I would rank them. Maybe Josh will agree or disagree with me here. The best deep threat of this group is Waddle, to me. From what I saw from Jalen Waddle, he's the best deep threat. He is the guy who's the Deshaun Jackson kind of deep threat, if you will, if I'm trying to compare him to someone you might know. I'm not saying he's Deshaun Jackson. When you think about what Deshaun Jackson does best, he's a deep threat. I think that's what Waddle does best. He's a deep threat. The best route runner, I don't think it's close. From what I watched, it's Smith. I don't think it's close, by the way. If you just watch Devonta Smith, you are seeing a guy who is pure and clean and a tremendous route runner. He's very small. My gosh, he is tiny out there. He is super tiny. That's a little bit concerning, but he is so precise with the route running that I might have to waive the how small he is because he's so technically sound, but the size of him does bother me. The kid from Minnesota, Rashad Bateman, if you were getting out of the first round, and I don't know if you'll get him in the second round, but if he was there in the second round, Rashad Bateman, to me, is a guy that is an intriguing – I won't know if he's a deep threat or the best route runner, but I definitely think, he's the more physical – he looks like a wide receiver. Was that be fair? If you were describing – if you were like, which of the guys of this group look like they play the part of wide receiver? Now, I'm not 100% sure that he would be there for you in the second round. I'm assuming he would be an interesting. He's like, I watched a lot of him this weekend. I remember seeing him. Minnesota had that good run. Not this past year, the year before, they were really good. And he's 6'2", 210 pounds, but he's not in the same tier as Waddle and Smith. So he would be the guy that might be in the back end of the first round, or he could be the guy that slips into that second round. And if he slips into the second round and you do not take a receiver with your first pick and he was still on the board in the second round, or even if he was in the play in the 20s, this is where you could take your 2 3s and maybe package them to try to get back into the first round. I look at Rashad Bateman as the guy that I would, if I pass on a receiver with number 6, then I would target if he's falling down into the late first round or into the second round. And there you go. This would be, I'm getting help for Jalen Hurts. Now, if you remember, he opted out of last season, but he was unbelievable. I mean, he had 60 catches, 1,200 yards in the season that Minnesota was really good. To me, watching him, he is a runner. I mean, he's 6'2", 210, and he's about a 4'3", 4'4", 40-yard dash guy. I think he's one of them guys, if we had a normal combine, he would be flying up the board, right? The 6'2", 210 guy, after DK, now he's not quite as big as DK Metcalf, but he's the big physical receiver, and he can run. I don't know that he will, he without the whole Indianapolis combine, things might have changed. So that was a guy that I kept an eye on. Your best overall guy to me is Jamar Chase. I mean, Chase to me, he's the best of all. I mean, he's not the best deep threat, but he's up there. He's not the best route runner, but he's up there. He's not the best release, but he's up there. He's not the best after the catch, but he's up there. I mean, he's in the top 3 in every single category. 84 catches, 1,780 yards, 20 touchdowns. He would have been the number 1 receiver, I think, in last year's draft. Right? If Chase came out last year, I think he probably would have outperformed. He would have been drafted ahead of Ruggs and drafted ahead of that group of guys. Jerry Jeudy, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Reagor for sure. Can you imagine if Chase was on the board last year and Jefferson and Chase and they still went with Reagor? Then I'd have a big problem. This kid here is different. He's different than Jefferson. So going back over this stuff, I'm looking at how do I get help for Jalen Hurts? I got a couple of ways I can do it. But B. Lizzle, watching on YouTube, good point. They leaked this out to get calls about 6. Hey, let's hope the calls come in. Joe Show's watching on YouTube. Lori probably realizes how he can't get away from the quarterback factory he wants. So I'm sure Lori sees that and says, let's start our guy. I can't get on board with that, Joe Show. Sorry, buddy. That's just, I don't like Howie Roseman. Look, Sal Powell has been on the show. We might even have that audio somewhere in here that we can find. And he said last year when they made the pick, that pick is made with everybody signing off on it. Jeff Lurie, Howie Roseman, and Doug Peterson. They all signed off on that Hurts pick. Why? Because they all liked Jalen Hurts. Dominic is checking in. Dadooch, what's up? He's watching on Facebook. You can watch the show live. Go to our website, 973ESPN.com. Other than Lawrence, who they have zero chance of picking, we agree there. Zach Wilson is the only quarterback worth picking to replace Hurts. I don't think I agree with you there. I think I'd rather have Hurts than Wilson. The only guy I would be intrigued by is Fields, and I think I'd rather just stick with Hurts than Fields. I don't know that Fields is a huge difference. It's like if you told me I'm getting Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson, and I'm not saying that these guys are Deshaun Watson, but I think Hurts could be Wilson next to Watson, or, I don't know that they're that good. I'm just saying, I don't think Fields and Hurts, I don't think Fields is going to be monumentally better. I would rather have Russell Wilson than Watson, but if you told me I was stuck with Watson, I wouldn't be disappointed. Just like this, if I got Hurts, I'm not disappointed. If you told me I can have Fields, but I didn't have to draft him, but you just have him, I'm not disappointed by that. All right, Steve Jones. Steve Jones has a very interesting avatar, by the way. Steve says, if we're moving down and Pitts, Chase, or Smith is there, definitely trade down with Carolina. Waddle and Rieger is too alike for my liking. Well, Steve, I would be on board with what you said at first. If you're moving down and Pitts, Chase, or Smith is there, you hit a grand slam home run out of the park, right? You hit a bomb over the left field fence out of the stadium. If you trade down to 8 with Carolina, or 9, I think is Denver, and you got Pitts, Chase, or Smith, you're doing backflips, and you all better be the first people on Friday morning, the day after the draft, coming on here and saying Howie Roseman did a great job. All the Howie haters out there, if Steve Jones, his scenario happens, that would be a big one. If you could trade down, get more picks, and land either Pitts, Chase, or Smith, you hit a home run. Or I would throw Patrick Surtain or Micah Parsons in there too. Chris Hernandez is watching on Facebook. Eagles have to keep the 6th pick. If they really want to help Hurts, they have to draft Kyle Pitts. Hey, I'm on board with drafting Kyle Pitts. I have no problem with that. What's that? All right. We got that bite from Sal Pal. All right, I'll play that on the other side. You'll hear what Sal Pal said about the drafting of Hurts. Good job out of Josh picking that audio right up. We got text messages. You can get on board, 609-403-0973. Text the show. I'll read off your text, 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. Text board. Watch the show live, 97.3ESPN.com. Good conversation starting the show off. I like how people are now interested in Kyle Pitts. I feel like that's good work out of you people out there. Good stuff. All right, Moon Walker has a post in the chat on the video stream. I will address that because, Moon, I am not happy about this report. Not happy at all. I'll explain why coming up. Busy today. Hudrick, Mosher, Bob Wankel on the Phils. There's a Phillies story that's emerging, 2 of them, that I am highly intrigued by. And I'm going to get into that with Bob tonight at 4:40. So you guys, stick around. Keep the chat going. I'll be back with your comments, your text messages, and I'll open up the phone lines. The number's on the video screen, 609-573-3776, 609-573-ESPN. If you're in South Jersey, Delaware, the surrounding areas, jump on board. This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app, and, of course, the live video stream at 97.3ESPN.com.
We never stop talking Eagles and NFL. It's football at 4, every day at 4 p.m. on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
On some models, excludes Corvette with GMF financing, excludes prior sales. See dealer for details. If you've been waiting for the best deal you can find on a brand new Chevy, then your wait has paid off big time. Right now, during Bennett Chevy's March Markdown event, you can save up to 25% off many of our most popular models. That's right. With Bennett Chevy's famous GM supplier employee pricing, plus you keeping all the rebates, that's up to a whopping 25% off MSRP. Plus, for a limited time, there's 0% financing available on our hottest Chevy models. Got an old beater? Get it to Bennett for an unbeatable $7,000 minimum towards any pre-owned vehicle in stock. That's at least $7,000. Imagine what we'll pay for a good trade. And our non-commissioned sales staff is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. So buying at Bennett's always a pleasure with no need to negotiate, plus there's never any sales pressure. Get to Bennett Chevy during our March Markdown event and find new roads. Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning makes it easy to upgrade to the most energy-efficient equipment. And for a limited time, Broadlee's is giving you a free furnace with the purchase of a high-efficiency AC system. 0% financing and rebates from the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities. And its clean energy program mean even greater savings. Don't miss out on Broadlee's free furnace frenzy. Certain restrictions apply. Call Broadlee's at 609-390-3907 or visit broadleys.net. Your trusted source for 3 generations.
Hello?
Hello, Mrs. Kuntz. It's the back left tire of your RV calling. Wanted to give you a heads up that I'm going to blow out on the highway later today.
Wait, what?
Says here I'm going to burst in the middle of rush hour.
Well, can we reschedule?
Sorry, our policy states that once we're scheduled to burst, we have to. We really pride ourselves on our commitment to blowouts.
RV owners can't schedule when things go wrong on the road. That's why there's Progressive, a leader in RV insurance.
Do you want a text confirmation when I burst?
Think I'll notice.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Hey, sports bettors, it's Mike Gill, and I wanted to share with you how I've been cashing in on the PropSwap Sports Bets resale app. On average, sellers on PropSwap have been making $500 a month. It's easy. Just post all your betting tickets for sale on PropSwap and let them find you a buyer. Listing your ticket is always free, and if it sells, great. But if not, the bet is still yours to keep. If you're not selling sports bets on PropSwap, you're missing out on incredible side hustle. Start making extra money today by downloading the PropSwap app and selling your sports bets.
Making popcorn for movie night?
Whoa, who are you?
This is your wake-up call from TracFone Wireless. What if every time you tried a new streaming service, you had to buy a new TV?
That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, some wireless companies do that when you switch. Make you buy a new phone.
Right.
But TracFone Wireless lets you keep your phone and your number and your network and gives you unlimited talk and text starting at $20 a month.
Seriously, who are you?
This is your wake-up call, people. TracFone Wireless. Now you're in control. Oh, you're burning it.
Oh, no.
See terms and conditions at TracFone.com.
If you're struggling with a drug or alcohol addiction, now is the time to take action and get professional help. Call Recovery Centers of America at 1-888-RECOVERY today. You are worthy of recovery from your addiction, and calling RCA will be your first step in getting the help you need. Recovery Centers of America answers the phone and admits patients 24/7. And because safety is a top priority, all patients and staff are routinely tested for COVID-19. RCA's expert team of physicians and medical professionals will treat you with compassion and dignity and provide an evidence-based treatment plan that is custom-tailored to your specific needs. Recovery Centers of America at Devon and Lighthouse are local and in-network with insurance providers, so their best-in-class inpatient and outpatient care, offered both in-person and via teletherapy, is affordable and accessible. Make this the year you conquer your addiction. Call today, 1-888-RECOVERY. That's 1-888-RECOVERY.
Termite season is quickly approaching. Is your home protected? Whether you're renovating or getting ready for spring, stop termites, mice, and ants in their tracks. Visit VikingPest.com for a pest-free home. That's VikingPest.com.
You can watch the Sports Bash live now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Search 97.3 ESPN or visit our website, 973ESPN.com.
All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. Don't forget, watch the show live at 97.3ESPN.com. Sports Bash is brought to you by Matt Blatt Nissan, the all-new Matt Blatt Nissan. Now open on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, next to Home Depot. Visit them online, mattblattnissan.com. Give me a buzz if you want to jump on, 609-573-ESPN, 609-573-3776. That's in South Jersey's 8 counties and in Delaware. Also, text the show, 609-403-0973. And, of course, if you're watching the show live, we have the live chat going on over there. I'll read off a couple text messages while I'm in the mood. Now I'm thinking it was totally Lurie's call to bench Wentz and play Hurts. Peterson doesn't believe in Hurts and thinks by blowing the last game, they will be able to select a new quarterback with better pick. Lurie obviously disagrees in parts ways with Peterson. Thoughts? That's definitely a conspiracy theory there. I don't know that I'm on board with that. I think there was reports earlier that Lurie was okay with benching Wentz, and they didn't do it. If you remember, there was a game earlier in the year, and we heard that Lurie had given them the green light to basically bench or play Hurts more, and we never saw it happen. So, no, I don't think I agree with what you're saying there. It's not a bad outside-the-box thought. I'm not calling you a nut by any stretch. You don't have a tinfoil cap on. It certainly has some premise. There's definitely some merit behind it, I should say. So, no, it's a good thought. I don't think you're way off base. Dan from Tuckerton, my opinion, the two most important things for the Eagles, one is obviously to get weapons for Hurts. I would have addressed that a little bit, but yes and no. Yes, of course you want to get weapons for Hurts. Like, that's number one. You do. But I'm in the minority here that feels like you have enough. Not like enough, but Jalen Hurts. Okay, this is where the comment that somebody in the chat threw in kind of takes over this conversation. But I want to read Dan's second point here real fast. Number two, a veteran backup to mentor Hurts. Some names that come to mind are Alex Smith, Cam Newton, Ryan Fitzpatrick. I like Smith. Newton I'd pass on. Fitzpatrick I like. Don't know how much money those guys are going to need. Monetarily, you might have some issues bringing in a solid backup quarterback. The Eagles still have a lot of cap room that they need to move out. All right, now this chat came in on the chat, and this is from Moon Walker, who's watching on YouTube. Why in the world is Brandon Brooks said to be available? He is a monster when healthy. Totally agree. Moon Walker is right. Why? The only reason is because they have to cut salary, and Brooks makes a lot of money. Apparently, according to reports, and you can go to our website and read more about this, according to reports, the Eagles have already had trade discussions about Brandon Brooks. The only thing I can think of is teams are calling because he makes a lot of money. I am hoping that Roseman is not making calls trying to trade Brandon Brooks. The whole point about this offseason and what I've talked about here, and it's not like they're trying to appease me, but losing Brooks would be a huge blow to the Eagles' offensive line, which should be much better if they can stay healthy. A line with Brooks and Johnson and Kelsey Sayamalo and then whoever plays left tackle is a massive upgrade over last year's group. Here's the problem. They need to cut still like $30 million off the cap here. And to do so, Brandon Brooks makes 4 years, $53 million for the next 4 years. And he only makes $10.5 million this year. To me, this is just not a move that I would make. It just doesn't push enough of the pile for me. I keep this line together, and I have young talent. I've got Goddard. I've got Sanders. I've got Rieger. I got Fulgham. I'm okay with this offensive line with those guys. And then if I draft a guy at number 6 or number 8 or wherever I move to. So to go back to the text message that came in that essentially said, one, get more weapons for Hurts. I think you have some intriguing weapons for Hurts, compounded by the fact that those weapons should be able to do more with that offensive line. The problem is if I start breaking up that offensive line, I'm now minimizing my weapons that I don't know enough about. So if I lose Brandon Brooks, now I'm all of a sudden going with Nate Herbig or Jack Driscoll playing right guard, and then I don't feel as good about, not that those guys stink. And look, I said this before. If the offensive line next year is Mailata, Sayamalu, Kelsey, Herbig, and Johnson, it's not an awful line. It's still decent. But I'm really good with Brandon Brooks and Lane Johnson playing together over there. It's a way better offensive line. So why do I want to break up the offensive line if I'm going to a quarterback that I don't want to say I have questions about, but he's obviously a guy that you didn't intend to be in this position. So put him in a position to where, hey, he's got the best offensive line that we can get. We've got Lane Johnson, who's been an all-pro. We've got Brandon Brooks, who's been a 3-time Pro Bowler. We've got Jason Kelsey, who's routinely one of the best centers in football. We've got a very steady player at Sayamalo at left guard, and we like our left tackle situation. All 5 spots on the line, if healthy, we like. I'm not breaking the Brandon Brooks trade out unless I absolutely can't find a way to get underneath the cap. Chris Crawford, Mike, you started that with Kyle Pitts. Well, hey, look, if I started it, I'm okay with it. I don't think I started it, but I like the fact that people may not have known who Pitts was, and now they do. And if I'm the reason why, I'm okay with that, Chris Crawford. Dag Burrito's watching. I would sign Tyrod Taylor as the backup. He knows Steichen's system. Yeah, I've heard that too. I don't have a problem. I actually like Tyrod Taylor as the backup. I don't have a problem with that. I don't know how much money that's the one problem. With the cap situation, I don't know how much money they're going to have to freely spend on a backup quarterback. I might like Tyrod Taylor. He might like Jacoby Brissett. I like Brissett as a backup. He got paid $15 million last year. I'm pretty sure anyway. You're going to get a backup quarterback to come in here and play for league minimum? No, not one of those guys. Maybe Nate Sudfeld. George Lewis is watching on YouTube. If they are talking about trading Brooks, it means they will draft to replace, not use someone on the roster now. I think I disagree with you there, George. I think they like Herbig and Driscoll. I don't think they're drafting a guy. Well, unless you're saying they're drafting a guy in the 4th, 5th, 6th. I don't even think they have a 4th-round pick. They traded that for Avery. So unless you're telling me they're drafting a guard in the 5th round and then they're going to start him over Herbig or Driscoll, I don't think so. So you're saying if they talk about trading Brooks, they would draft someone to replace him, not use someone on the roster? Don't agree there. They would use Herbig. I think Herbig would get the first shot to play. Or Driscoll, right. I said Driscoll and Herbig, they would battle it out at right guard. The loser of that would be your – I think Driscoll would be the swing tackle. I think you're going to see Driscoll be the swing, kind of like the Pryor or the Vitae, if you will, guy who can play multiple positions. I think they like Herbig more as just strictly a guard. So I would operate under, if they got rid of Brooks, they're going to stay in-house and just use Herbig and Driscoll to battle it out in that spot. All right, Steve Jones. Actually, Chris Crawford is commenting, says the Brooks situation is strictly cap management, so it wouldn't be inevitable. I agree. Like, I hope that it's just teams calling the Eagles because they have cap problems and not the Eagles saying, we got to get rid of this guy because we have cap problems. I think they can work around it. All right, Steve Jones is watching on YouTube. Says, I think Pitts, Chase, or Smith will definitely be there at 8. Carolina trading up probably assures 4 quarterbacks are gone. Sewell, another lineman, that's 5. One of the trio mentioned above will be there. Yeah, I guess. If 4 quarterbacks go in the top 7, and then Sewell would be the 8th guy, yeah, then one of those guys would be there, Pitts, Chase, or Smith. Now you're banking on 4 quarterbacks going in the top 4. Is that definitely going to happen? I mean, there's a path to get to 4. I think it's a 50-50 proposition, but you're not wrong. Not wrong. 609-403-0973. More text messages are coming in. This was, by the way, what Sal Paolantonio said right after the draft. They drafted Jalen Hurts. Sal Paolantonio was on the Sports Bash. He said this.
This was Doug Peterson's pick. And the dynamic within that organization is they are co-equal partners, Roseman and Peterson. Roseman makes the final call, but he is not going to do anything that Peterson hasn't bought into. That's just not the way it is. Roseman owes Peterson, and Peterson owes Roseman for that Super Bowl trophy that's in his office that we saw on draft night.
Pretty clear. He said It was a Peterson pick that Roseman was on board with. And you know who else would have to be on board? Jeff Lurie. The coach isn't walking up there, knocking on the door and saying, I want to draft a quarterback. That's not how it happens. That's definitely not how it happens. They're all on board with that. I definitely agree with Steve here, too. The backup guards have proved enough and have earned the right to compete for a spot. Still don't agree with trading Brooks. I agree with all that. The offensive line wasn't nearly as bad as we all thought last year. I think Wentz had a big factor in making that line look inadequate. It wasn't as inadequate as it appeared because Wentz was holding the ball so long, causing extra sacks that didn't really need to occur. That being said, you can't go into a situation where I have 13 different line combinations. That's not a recipe for success. But Steve is right. The line combinations may have been a cause for problems, but certain individuals, if called on by themselves, in other words, if Nate Herbig is playing with the rest of the starters, he's fine. You put Nate Herbig out there next to a different right tackle every week, yeah, the communication is going to struggle a little bit. Dank Burrito checking in says, my dream picks are Pitts. The Pitts thing is really starting to kind of gain some legs here. I'm seeing so many mock drafts with the Pitt stuff. And look, I'm not advocating that that's the pick. All I'm saying is it's a pick that I would be on board with. Now, I like this draft at the top. I think there's 12 guys I would probably be pretty happy with. And that's not at number 6. That's just like if you trade it back and got a guy somewhere in that top 12. I think there's about 12 guys that I would say, you know what? I'm happy with the way this thing turned out. Cole and LBI. Brooks could be cooked. All right, let's stop there. 2 Achilles injuries. By the way, Gil calls Brooks the best guard in football when he's never been an All-Pro. He's never been an All-Pro, but he's constantly been ranked as the number 1 guard in football. So I don't care if he's number 2, number 3. He's in the top 3, whatever. He's a 3-time Pro Bowl, but he's never been an All-Pro. He is correct about that. He has not been an All-Pro. He is constantly graded out as the best right guard in football. Now, a lot of people don't like those rankings, the Pro Football Focus rankings. I happen to think that Brooks has been the best right guard for my money in football. That doesn't necessarily mean he is, but I don't think people would say I'm off my rocker by saying that. Now, he goes on to say, I think you're betting too heavy on the health of the line. I think you're wrong there. And this is why. The Eagles' offensive line has been the reason for their success. It has stayed healthy. When a lot of other teams have line problems, the Eagles have not. The Eagles haven't been the more talented team. They have been the healthier team in the most important position, the offensive line. The Dallas Cowboys are more talented than the Eagles, but the line problems that the Cowboys have had. The Giants have good skill position players. Their offensive line, a total disaster. The Minnesota Vikings, better skill position players than the Eagles. Offensive line, a total disaster. If you have a healthy offensive line, your skill position players can be even better. Those teams have better skill position players than the Eagles do. But the most important position is the health of the line. And if the Eagles have health on that line, their skill position players will be better. A lot of text messages, a lot of comments. I'll get to them. I promise. Sports Bash, it's me and you all day today. 609-573-3776 on the phones. 609-403-0973 on the text. If you're watching the show live, use the comment section wherever you're watching, Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, and we will continue to have good two-way conversation here on the Sports Bash, live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. Watch the show live at 97.3ESPN.com. All right, I'm Mike Gill. Coming up at 3:20 today, Paul Hudrick, by the way. We're looking at trade options, buyout candidates for the Sixers. By the way, no Embiid or Simmons last night. Did you watch any of the All-Star game? I actually watched the first half. I bailed out in the second half. You know why? Because someone thought it was smart to put the slam dunk competition at halftime that took up an hour. It was a terrible decision. I don't know if it was an hour, it was about 45 minutes. and it wasn't very entertaining. All right, I'm back with more Sports Bash. Don't go away.
Turn it on. Leave it on. The Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Get the credit you deserve during Matt Blatt Kia's Madness in March sales event with 0 down and 0% APR financing for 75 months. Get to Matt Blatt Kia in Toms River and Egg Harbor Township, because at Matt Blatt Kia, we want to get you approved today. And you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Plus, we want your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. So get out of that old car you hate. Come in today or visit us online and get the credit you deserve. Put 0 down and get 0% APR financing available for up to 75 months on every new 2021 Kia Sportage, or take $2,500 off MSRP, because
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
offers with approved Tier 1 or 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on 1333 for 1,000 borrowed. All Kia Motors factory rebates to dealer. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Expires 4/5/2021. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Making popcorn for movie night?
Whoa, who are you?
This is your wake-up call from TracFone Wireless. What if every time you tried a new streaming service, you had to buy a new TV?
That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, some wireless companies do that when you switch, make you buy a new phone.
Right.
But TracFone Wireless lets you keep your phone and your number and your network, and gives you unlimited talk and text starting at $20 a month.
Seriously, who are you?
This is your wake-up call, people. TracFone Wireless. Now you're in control. Oh, you're burning it.
Oh, no.
See terms and conditions at TracFone.com.
Hey guys, are you afraid of taking off your shirt in public? Don't be embarrassed. Just say, I love Lyle back instead with male breast reduction. Many men develop a fullness in their chest as boys that persists and even worsens as they get older. This condition is called gynecomastia, and with simple liposuction, most cases can be effectively treated. Call 856-MAKEOVER today to schedule your private consultation with Dr. Lyle and Back. That's 856-MAKEOVER, or visit iloveLyleBack.com.
You're ready to get back into yoga, so you order the essentials: a non-slip mat, yoga blocks to keep balance, and an exercise ball. And you use your Bank of America Cash Rewards credit card, choosing to earn 3% cash back on online shopping and up to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member, which you put towards your most essential yoga gear. Noise-canceling headphones.
Welcome. Take a deep breath. Breathe.
Apply for yours at bankofamerica.com/more rewarding. Copyright 2020 Bank of America Corporation.
Hey, bro. I don't think I can help you move Saturday. My back is really bugging me. I just don't think I can handle it. Sorry.
Hey, dude, it's John. I know I told you I'd be able to help you move. I think Michelle's really mad at me for something. What's that, honey? Oh, dude, I gotta go. Sorry, man.
Call Clark's Moving and Storage in South Jersey for your next local or long-distance move. Clark's, dependable and always shows up. Call 609-889-0780.
That's the sound of NyQuil Severe hard at work. NyQuil Severe is the best sleep with a cold medicine. No tossing and turning, just rest and recovery. So you're ready to take on tomorrow. For powerful relief of your worst cold and flu symptoms, try NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, best sleep with a cold? Medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
This is Cape May County Commissioner Len Desiderio. We are making progress in the fight against COVID. Please get tested and quarantine if you are positive to prevent the spread. Testing remains very important to our efforts. Everyone is frustrated by the slow supply of vaccine, but we are working with the state to get more doses to Cape May County, and we thank you for your patience. Make sure you are registered with the state at covidvaccine.nj.gov or call 855-568-0545 for personal assistance. COVID has used up so much of our patience, but we need just a little more. Thank you for all of your hard work. Now we have to finish strong, safely together.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. A lot of action today in the chat. I appreciate you guys watching the show. If you're watching live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, at 973ESPN.com. That's the easiest way to do it. Just go to the website. There'll be the link right there. You'll see Watch the Sports Bash, big white picture. Boom. Bang on that, and you'll be able to check out the show live. You can also hit me up on the text board, 609-403-0973. If you're watching the show, all the numbers are up on the screen. You can read more on this conversation about Jalen Hurts. Apparently, Lori wants him to be the starter. I don't have a problem with it. I do want to tell you about my friends over at Trifecta Therapeutics, the premier sports rehab and performance center. They're in South Jersey, right in Glassboro, so they're in the heart of the area. They take a unique approach to physical therapy and rehab. And, you know, you're out there. We all want to stay active. We all want to continue to play basketball, football, throw the baseball around. Sometimes you get hurt. And if you do, they're there for you. For those of you who need rehab, therapy, post-op treatment, pain relief, and more, weekend warrior, a finely tuned athlete. You know, they treat the athletes that play and the people that just want to get out there on the weekend. The pros, the Joes, the incredible team at Trifecta Therapeutics. They're in Glassboro. They can help you. Visit online, trifectatherapeutics.com. All right. Good conversation going. Keep it going. 609-403-0973 on the text board. 609-403-0973. Text messages coming in. Still baffles me that football fans don't realize the offensive line is the engine that makes the offense run. Sure, you can have a great quarterback and spend money on spoiler and body kits. Okay. Sure, you can have a great paint job, the quarterback, and spend money on a spoiler or body kits, the wide receiver and running backs. But without the engine, what good is your car? So you make car references there, and that's over my head. So I didn't realize what you were saying, but I got you now. The paint job and the spoiler and the body kits, but you need the engine for the car. Okay, I got you. The offensive line, to me, is a single difference reasons between the Eagles and the other teams the last couple of years. The Eagles were not better than the Vikings skill position players. They had a better offensive line. The Vikings' offensive line was toilet trash. It was horrible. They were terrible. The Eagles beat the Vikings. Now, they smashed them because they couldn't block, and the Eagles could. That's the difference. The Eagles are better than the other NFC East teams for that stretch run because their offensive line mauled you. I mean, the Giants had Odell Beckham. You know, they had Odell Beckham. They had Saquon Barkley. They had some decent weapons, but they had no offensive line. Their offensive line got Eli killed. If they had an offensive line, they could win with Brooks, with Beckham and Barkley. They couldn't block. Dallas, great skill position players. Their offensive line, horrible the last year. Injuries everywhere. Even Washington has a half-decent offensive line. The problem with them is they have no skill position players. They actually had skill position players. They'd be halfway decent. All right, Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN. More of your comments, more of your questions, more of your contributions to the show. Chris Gilbert is watching on Facebook. I think Chris is new to the show. We appreciate you, Chris, jumping on board. 2 words, Barry Sanders. That's an example of what a bad offensive line can do to a great player. Totally agree with that. I mean, you look at what happened to Barry Sanders' career. Can you imagine what he did if he had a half-decent offensive line? Look, to me, the offensive line for the Eagles is the difference in this team being 4-12 again and being competitive. If they have a good offensive line, this team's probably in play for a playoff spot. If they don't, they're probably in play for what they did last year. Dank Burrito's watching on YouTube. Wentz was a huge factor. You look at that pick versus San Francisco. He had a clean pocket. Hightower was wide open on the inside route. Carson ran back into a defender and throws a pick. I agree that Wentz was a bigger problem than the offensive line. I hate to say it. I hated to have to say it last year. We battled about it. I didn't think that the play calling was great, but there were plays to be made, and they weren't. That, to me, is a big problem. That was a big problem. Guys were open. The open throw wasn't made. Steve Jones is watching on YouTube. Can Pitts block? Yeah, he can block. He's a pretty good inline blocker. They didn't ask him to do it a whole heck of a lot, but he can do it. Goddard's one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. I take that back. I wouldn't say he's one of the best blocking tight ends in the league, but for what he's not a blocking tight end. I'm talking about the guys who are pass catchers. All right. I'm not talking about guys who are only there to block. You're Colin Thompsons of the world. Shout out Colin Thompson. That Colin Thompson has a job because he can block, and that's no slight on him. He had 1 catch for a touchdown, by the way, this year. Goddard's role is to catch passes. Of the pass-catching tight ends, Goddard's one of the better blockers. But, yeah, Pitts can block. He'll handle himself. Let's go and see what Chris Crawford has to say. For the heavy quarterback market and taking the cap hit with Wentz in your overall cap situation, I think we should trade down a few and get some more picks and still get out. The trade down scenario to me is the best, Chris. I agree with you there. Javier is watching on Facebook. Don't we need to improve our defense, especially the corners? Ding, ding, ding. 100%. Definitely need to improve the defense. I advocate taking a player at 6 that plays defense. Patrick Surtain, Michael Parsons, Caleb Farley. I'm trying to think if there's another defensive player that would be in the mix in the top 10. Okay? In the mix in the top 10. If I was to say this defensive player would be in the mix in the top 10, that's not either Michael Parsons, Patrick Surtain, I don't think there's another one. Caleb Farley, those 3 guys. The only other guy, oh, man. J.C. Horn's a corner. I don't think he's top 10. I'm not taking him top 10. I don't know that I can think of a defensive end that I'm taking. Rousseau, I don't like him in the 10. I'd take him at 20. No, Jalen Phillips. That's it. I can't think of one defensive player other than Parsons or the 2 corners, Farley or Patrick Surtain, that I would take in the top 10. So to answer that guy's question, yeah, you need defensive help. There's not a whole heck of a lot at the corner spot after 6. Now, yeah, at 6, you can take one of those guys. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Busy show. By the way, if you're watching the show, do me a favor, share the show wherever you're watching. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, hit retweet or share it on Facebook and get more people involved. The more the merrier, the more fun we have. I appreciate that if you do. And I want to also remind you, coming up at 3:20, Paul Hudrick, at 4, Jeff Mosher, and at 4:40, Bob Wankel. By the way, Wankel is one of the best baseball guys I've talked to. We're going to do more, the 2 of us together. So Bob's going to be joining me more this season. Frank will be on Tuesdays with the mailbag. Bob and I are going to be doing more baseball. We have so much in common. We might start a craft beer podcast, too. We had a good craft beer conversation over the weekend that we think we might have a sponsor for. Yeah, I'm going to make some money off this craft beer.
Sign up now for this year's $1 Million Bracket Challenge. Registration is underway now at 973ESPN.com and the free mobile app until the tournament begins. The listener whose bracket has the most correct will win a $500 golden getaway in Atlantic City. Thanks to our friends at GoldenNuggetSports.com. And the top 20 listener brackets will receive a free bet at GoldenNuggetSports.com. So register for the $1 Million Bracket Challenge.
Hell yeah!
Now at 973ESPN.com or the free mobile app. Must be 21 plus to place a bet. Only available in New Jersey. Free bets are for online sportsbook only. Please see website for terms and conditions.
A national championship.
So head to 973ESPN.com or the free mobile app and register for the $1 Million Bracket.
On some models, excludes Corvette with GMF financing, excludes prior sales. See dealer for details. If you've been waiting for the best deal you can find on a brand new Chevy, then your wait has paid off big time. Right now, during Bennett Chevy's March Markdown event, you can save up to 25% off many of our most popular models. That's right. With Bennett Chevy's famous GM supplier employee pricing, plus you keeping all the rebates, that's up to a whopping 25% off MSRP. Plus, for a limited time, there's 0% financing available on our hottest Chevy models. Got an old beater? Get it to Bennett for an unbeatable $7,000 minimum towards any pre-owned vehicle in stock. That's at least $7,000. Imagine what we'll pay for a good trade. And our non-commissioned sales staff is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. So buying at Bennett's always a pleasure with no need to negotiate, plus there's never any sales pressure. Get to Bennett Chevy during our March Markdown event and find new roads. Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Conference tournaments are tipping off. Bubble teams are making their final push. Top seeds are preparing for what they hope is a long run. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is putting new customers in the center of the action. Bet $4 on an underdog. Win $256 if they win. It's that simple. That's bet $4 on an underdog in select college basketball games, and if they win, you collect $256. The bank is open. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code 973 when you sign up to turn $4 into $256 if the underdog of your choosing pulls off the upset. That's code 973 for a limited time, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or New Jersey only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
What do you want to da-da-da? What do you want to da-da-da? I have no idea what to da-da-da. We could switch to Progressive da. Oh, yeah? We could switch to Progressive and sa. Okay. We could sa and have to buy some za. Oh, yeah. Let's switch to Progressive da and get some za with the money we saw. Yeah. Now we know we're going to da-da-da.
These days, nothing is normal and everything is weird. But you could still save big when you switch to Progressive. It might just be the most normal thing you da-da-da.
Quote to da at Progressive.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
A message from your neighbors and friends at First Bank. We've been serving residents and businesses of Sea Isle City and the surrounding communities for more than 130 years. Today's challenges, while unique, are another opportunity to show our strength and resilience. Our commitment to you remains strong. Whether it's using our drive-through services, bank by phone, the First Bank mobile app, or online banking, we're staying strong with you. Be safe and be secure. First Bank, here for you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
When you support your local small businesses, it helps keep your neighbors employed, helps kids save for college, and strengthens your community. And Town Square Media South Jersey puts local businesses in the spotlight.
First Bank of Sea Isle City, Cape County's community bank.
Dr. Lyle M. Back for everything from skincare to cosmetic surgery. Go to ilovelylback.com.
Egg Harbor Independent Branch Leader at Charles Schwab in the Consumer Square Shopping Plaza.
Filling Marble and Tile Outlet, Philadelphia Avenue and Route 30 in Egg Harbor City. Visit fillingmarble.com.
Intuitive Women's Health in Summers Point, accepting new patients. Schedule an appointment today online at intuitivewomenshealth.net.
East Coast Roofing, Siding and Windows services all of South Jersey. If you call, they'll show up. Call East Coast today at 609-646-1444. Online at eastcoastroofing.com.
Thank you for supporting your local businesses. From Town Square Media, South Jersey.
The radio home of the 76ers.
Simmons on a drive and down the lane with a right-hand jam.
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. 97.3 ESPN.
This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
Hour 2 of the Sports Bash. Mike Gill hanging out with you on a Monday. It is a Sports Bash Monday, which means Paul Hudrick will do our Inside the Sixers conversation today. Also, Jeff Mosher's in the house for a Mosher Monday. Inside the Birds, football at 4. So much Birds to get into. Football at 4. Let's do it. Another hour to go. Me and you hanging out. 609-573-3776 on the phones. Text the show, 609-403-0973. If you want to get involved that way, or if you're watching the show live on the chat, plenty of ways to get involved. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments that are coming in, because I'm reading some of these things, and I'm thinking to myself, this team, to me, is all over the map with the people out there. I feel like people just I want to address this one. Steve Serrano. I think that people just feel like this team's dumpster fire bad. I think they're dumpster fire bad if they make bad decisions this offseason. And I know people out there would say, well, Howie Roseman would make you make dumpster fire decisions. That's not necessarily true. But Steve Serrano, to me, this would be a dumpster fire decision. If Sewell falls to 6, do we take him? I would not. That, to me, is one of those dumpster fire decisions. Taking a quarterback and taking an offensive lineman. And it sounds odd to say, well, they're the two most important positions. I already feel like I have those positions. Why do I need Penei Sewell to play left tackle? I just drafted a guy to play left tackle in the first round 3 years ago. I'm giving up on that guy already after barely seeing him play? I don't think so. Also, Jordan Mailata. I liked what I saw from Jordan Mailata last year. I'm not going to draft a guy number 6 overall where I got a young kid that can play left tackle for 10 years. Why am I trying to do that to myself? So I don't think Sewell's an awful pick. I've had this conversation with DeCecco, and we don't agree on it. DeCecco is a hell of a draft mind. That doesn't mean he doesn't know about the guys. He's saying Sewell's that good. And I'm saying I don't care that he's that good. I got other holes. And if I could fix those holes, this team now, I don't know that they can win the Super Bowl. But I definitely think that they can be in play for a playoff berth. 609-403-0973. Steve Jones, I'm curious to see what Dillard is going as far as trades. I wouldn't get my hopes up there. Nowhere is watching on YouTube. Since drafting a quarterback is allegedly out, can we do a poll for who wants Chase versus Pitts? I'm in for either one. If I get Chase or Pitts, sign me up. I feel pretty good about that. Dank Burrito, what song is this? I don't know what song that is. To be honest with you, I have no clue. And I played it. I don't know what it is. It looks like it's called Mexico from Ramzoid. There you go. It's called Mexico. The artist is Ramzoid. I find a lot of under-the-radar stuff that most people wouldn't know sometimes. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, free mobile app, 609-573-3776. I'll open up the phone lines a little bit here. I'd like to hear from you guys from time to time with your voices, not just your words. My man Monday Marcus here on 97.3. What's up, Marcus?
Not bad, brother. I'm in this DMV area. I thought about you and wanted to make sure to tell you to
what in the world would be sitting at the DMV would propel you to think about me?
No. The DMV area.
Okay. Oh, area. I got you.
Yeah, there you go. You all a Baltimore guy, right? You know all about it, man. It's the DMV guy.
You're in the DMV, like the district. I got you.
There you go. But I wanted to make sure, to warn you also, probably good to get a home haircut for the next few weeks, based on some Sixers jokes.
Yeah, I hear you.
See about that later on, man. I know you're going to touch on it with your Sixers guy, but I'm not sure if he'll tell you about if they're even going to still be in a protocol before Thursday's game or whatnot. So I'll listen in for that. The point that I called was the Eagle situation. And listen, we both have the love for Pitch right now, man. Straight man crush. I told you all the things. I'm glad you're doing the homework and even watching some of the other guys. What I did wonder, with two different things in the league, when you heard Russell Wilson say he wanted weapons initially, but then, Tyler Lockett and Metcalf are no Sneeds, but now is he saying offensive line? And then you take the Josh Allen type situation. He was a pedestrian quarterback on the border, but then you give him somebody like Stephon Diggs, and the guy is shooting up in the MVP rate, and you see how well the Bills did. So for our young quarterback, what you said about Laurie now kind of wanting him to be the face of the franchise, him saying all the right things, at that 6th pick, as much as we have that love for that, potential wide receiver or potential playmaker, whatever position they try to say, then do we drop back, get him some more line help to make sure, because we know we had line issues.
Whoa. Why? But Marcus, the reason they had line issues is because of injury.
No question.
But those guys should be like Lane Johnson played last year. He tried to play. He was not healthy. So he sat out the rest of the year. He should be back healthy. If you have Lane Johnson back, you're okay at right guard. right tackle. Brandon Brooks missed the whole year. He was practicing by the end of the year. If he's back, you've got a top 5 guard in football back at that spot. The center's back. Sayamala was fine last year, and you should have a battle at left tackle between Dillard and Mailata. To me, the offensive line is not a problem for this team.
But I'm all about the debate. I'm also looking at, like I said, the defensive side. We couldn't stop a nosebleed sometimes based off.
100% agree there. They need help. They need an impact player on the defense. They haven't had an impact player on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, if you want to call Jenkins an impact player or Fletcher Cox, they're not the impact player I'm talking about. They just have not had a guy that is just the epitome, like the face of your defense. I mean, since I can't remember. I mean, you're going back to when you're going back to Dawkins, I guess.
Right. And I mean, listen, we keep looking for that back then. I mean, we thought, listen, Malcolm did great while he was here. When he left, you wondered if they let him go a little bit too early, but they didn't have anything to go back to, letting Jalen Mills go back in there and him not really being a safety. But I asked that only because what, we're being told is that the depth at receiver is so deep. Believe me, there's not going to be no bones for me they taking Kyle Pitts or Chase, when it comes time for the receiver spot at 6. I'm just asking, while we have the time, the options that are potentially there to maybe shore up anything else for your somewhat still rookie quarterback, only playing 3.5 games with the nonsense that happened at the end of the season, to make sure that when you put him into this next year role, that he will be successful all the way around? Or do you just go out there and let him try to outscore people?
Here's what I'll say to Marcus. I think getting the offensive line back should help him. I think that getting the offensive line back should help the weapons, quote unquote weapons, that have been underwhelming look better. I mean, I think Sanders, I would imagine that everybody listening likes Sanders, no?
Running back wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, no question.
All right, I think everybody out there listening. Yeah, I think everybody out there listening likes Goddard. I think everybody out there is probably not sure what Rieger is. But with an offensive line that gives the kid time to protect him, you should get a better understanding of what Sanders is, what Goddard is, what Rieger is. I think the offensive play should be a little bit more, creative with the new coach here, and that I would focus on getting a defensive player, but there are offensive players that are very hard to pass on.
I'm just saying, I think we agree that number 6 pick has to be a stud on either side of the ball for the next, 5 to 8 years for your franchise, whether it's to help Jalen out, quarterback wise, or to shore up all those holes on the defense. Again, I'm just trying to make some conversation before we.
I'm on. And Marcus, I got to run, man. I appreciate the call as always. I love the Baltimore area, so have a good time down there. I am on board with. I said there's about 12 guys that I like. Okay, there's about 12 guys that I like at 6, between 6 and 12. In other words, if I trade back, I'm okay with drafting these couple guys. Now, the guys that I am okay with. All right, if I'm counting these down. I say 1, and this is in no particular order. Parsons would be a guy that I have no problem with. 2, I would say Surtain. 3 would be Smith. 4, Pitts. 5, Chase. 6, Waddle. 7. Now, you're getting to a spot where if I got these guys, I don't want the quarterbacks. So I don't want Mac Jones. I don't want Penei Sewell. I don't want Trey Lance. I don't want Justin Fields. If you told me I got stuck with Lawrence, I'm not going to pout, but I don't want a quarterback. All right. So those 6 guys are the guys at number 6 that I would be happy with. Now, if I trade down, now I put Caleb Farley into my mix, right? Do I like Payne from Michigan? I probably don't want a defensive end. J.C. Horn, all right, I would say Horn is not on my list of guys that I would like in the top 12, but if I landed Horn and I trade it down far enough, I'd be okay with Horn. Maybe there's not 12 guys. Probably about 8, it looks like. Now that I'm kind of going back through this, there's probably 8 guys in the top 12 that I would be okay with. The only other guy that I would consider, and I don't want him in the top 12, would be, I would say, and again, we talked about him earlier, which is Rashad Bateman. If I can get Bateman in the second round. So there's 8 guys that I would say in the top 15, there's about 8 guys I'm happy with on draft day. 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. Sports Bash is live on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. And look, I think the Eagles' offensive line, like the guy who's asking me about Penei Sewell, I think the Eagles' offensive line is probably, if healthy, one of the best in football again. Yeah, now they have questions. The age, the injury. Yeah, if they start breaking down, I think you can then make the decision moving forward. Here's the thing. Keep this in mind about Brandon Brooks. Like, if you don't trade Brandon Brooks, and there's some reports that they've had discussions, he has a 4-year deal still. He's still got 4 years left on his deal. You can't all of a sudden be like, we're getting old you got 4 years left on his deal. So I'm not in a situation where I'm starting to look for replacement for my right guard who's got 4 years left on his deal. That's preposterous. Right? All right, Ryan in Connecticut, you're on 97.3. What's up, Ryan?
Hey, how you doing?
What's up, buddy?
I'm doing good. So I was listening to the comments about the draft and how drafting an offensive lineman in the top 6. And now since that Jeffrey Lurie is definitely considering Hurts into a starting quarterback where he's going to be facing the franchise.
Yep.
I think now since we lost Carson Wentz, I think it's very, very important that we should surround Hurts with weapons. It's been a long time since defense we haven't had. I heard the way you say defense we haven't had an impact player. It's been a long time since on offense we have an impact player. It's been a long time since we've seen a wide receiver even have 1,000 yards with us.
That's a good point. When's the last time they had 1,000 yards? What, Macklin maybe?
I think it was Macklin. Yeah, I believe it was Macklin, and we haven't had that impact for years. I mean, our highest receiving I think was Travis Fulgham. He had like 596 yards this year, and that was our top wide receiver.
The last 2 years, the receiving has been a disaster. There's no question about it. Now, Ryan, here's the thing. Yeah. That report today, and this is verbatim from what Mortensen said. It says he has instructed his group to prioritize making Hurts successful. So what if he's saying prioritize making Hurts successful? That to me says do everything you can to help Hurts, not the defense, Hurts. So that to me says they're looking to get either a wide out or a weapon for him early in this draft.
And I totally agree. And I totally agree with you about offensive line being healthy. I think people don't understand how important Jeff Stoutland is to our coaching staff. He knows how to develop players. I'm convinced that Joey Malala can be a very good left tackle in this league. And I see that Jeff Stoutland knows how to develop offensive linemen. Give him some talent, and he can exploit that talent and put that on offensive line. I really have high hopes with Drat Driscoll and Nate Herbig. They showed some promise last year again, throwing the fire. And now they reclaim, they brought back Jeff Stoutland. I think now that he's here and we give us more talent, we can build that offensive line. I actually do see promise with this line. I have no problem. We got, like you said, we got Chase and Kelsey coming back. We got Brandon Brooks coming back. Even though they are over 30, they still, even half or 70% of them are still pretty good against what the rest of the league has.
Yeah, and you know what? And Ryan, I appreciate the call, man. It's a really good call. And here's the thing I would say. I don't need to draft another lineman just to find out if my linemen I currently have are done. Okay? Let me find out if they're done, and then if I'm proven that they're done, all right, now I have to go another avenue. But here's the thing. If Brandon Brooks has the 2 Achilles and he comes back and he just can't play anymore, which I don't think will be the case. I think Brandon Brooks, if anybody's seen the video of Brandon Brooks The guy had Achilles surgery and was doing Taekwondo about 5 days later. I mean, he's a freak of nature for some reason. Whatever, Taekwondo, jiu-jitsu. I don't think anybody out there really cares about the difference. He was up on his feet doing stuff that most people of his size can't do. Whether he was doing jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, or he was doing the crane kick from the Karate Kid. He was doing things that a man of that size should not be doing post-surgery on his Achilles. That guy is in primo shape. I have no worries about Brandon Brooks. None. Lane Johnson, he had that ankle problem. I'm not all that concerned that Lane Johnson's broken down. I think he had the ankle problem. I think he tried to play through it. He couldn't play through it. He shut himself down. He tried. It wasn't himself. But I don't think Lane Johnson is some broken down right tackle whose best years are way behind him. I think Lane Johnson is still a top 10 offensive tackle in this league. So I'm not ready to replace him. The center position, I'm not drafted at number 6. I'm not drafting a left guard at number 6. The only spot that I would draft at number 6 would be at left tackle. And I just drafted a left tackle 3 years ago. And I know everyone's saying he's not good. You don't know anything about Andre Dillard. Seriously, nobody does. Now, last year, he added 20 pounds of muscle in the offseason. He appeared to be ready to go to play left tackle when he got hurt. I have no problem with giving the position to Dillard, and I have no problem giving the position to Mailata. I want a Super Bowl with Vaitai playing left tackle. I don't need to go draft a left tackle at pick number 6 when I have two guys that I really like playing that position right off the bat. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. All right, we come back. It is Inside the Sixers. Good conversation. Good stuff going on. We're going to keep it going throughout the show. Football at 4 with Moshe. When we come back, Paul Hudrick, our Sixers insider, will join us right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Sports Bash is brought to you by Matt Black Kia. They want to get you approved today. 6211 Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township. Back with more Sports Bash.
There's never an off season for the NFL. It's football at 4 every day at 4 p.m. on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
On some models excludes Corvette with GMF financing, excludes prior sales. See dealer for details. If you've been waiting for the best deal you can find on a brand new Chevy, then your wait has paid off big time. Right now, during Bennett Chevy's March Markdown event, you can save up to 25% off many of our most popular models. That's right. With Bennett Chevy's famous GM supplier employee pricing, plus you keeping all the rebates, that's up to a whopping 25% off MSRP. Plus, for a limited time, there's 0% financing available on our hottest Chevy models. Got an old beater? Get it to Bennett for an unbeatable $7,000 minimum towards any pre-owned vehicle in stock. That's at least $7,000. Imagine what we'll pay for a good trade. And our non-commissioned sales staff is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. So buying at Bennett's always a pleasure with no need to negotiate, plus there's never any sales pressure. Get to Bennett Chevy during our March Markdown event and find new roads. Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
It's time for some straight talk. Tax returns could look a little different this year. So when the big carriers start trying to get you to splurge on the latest nonsense, just tune it out. With Straight Talk Wireless, you can get a Samsung Galaxy A51 for just $199. Plus, get our unlimited plan with no contract on America's best networks for up to 50% less. Tune out the nonsense. Tune into Straight Talk Wireless. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
Savings may vary. See straighttalk.com.
Hey, bro, I don't think I can help you move Saturday. My back is really bugging me. I just don't think I can handle it. Sorry.
Hey, dude, it's John. I know I told you I'd be able to help you move. I think Michelle's really mad at me for something. What's that, honey? Oh, dude, I gotta go. Sorry, man.
Call Clark's Moving and Storage in South Jersey for your next local or long-distance move. Clark's, dependable and always shows up. Call 609-889-0780.
When the forgotten poor are in need of healing, they wait for a ship unlike any other.
Mercy Ships, a floating hospital staffed by volunteers, heroes of mercy who donate their time to save lives.
Every human has the right to have a place at the table of the human race.
If you could just see the smiles that you get when lives have been changed, then it would make it all worth it.
To learn more about Heroes of Mercy, go to mercyships.org.
Switch to T-Mobile for Business and get up to 90 days of service free via virtual rebate on your business plan. You get a great deal, the largest 5G network, and first-class benefits like Microsoft 365 on us. It's better for business and only with T-Mobile for Business. Limited time offer. Stop in store for details. Plus taxes and fees for some plans. Virtual Express MasterCard within 8 weeks of receipt of valid submission. Complete port within 60 days. See T-Mobile.com for 5G devices, coverage, and plan details.
Order! Continue, Ms. Garner.
With the Capital One Venture Card, you earn unlimited double miles on every purchase every day.
Objection! My credit card doesn't earn double miles on every purchase.
I object to your objection. With the Capital One Venture Card, you earn unlimited double miles on every purchase.
Order! Please read Counselor's last statement.
With the Capital One Venture Card, you earn unlimited double miles on every purchase.
I'll allow it.
No further questions, Your Honor. Well, just one. What's in your wallet?
Capital One Bank USA NA.
What's it doing? Designing my new 2021 Nissan Kicks Online in the Kicks Color Studio. I give each a special name. This one's electric blue, orange, red, white. I call it the gumball machine. You think it's me?
I feel like you're more of a red velvet guy.
Limitless possibilities. With over 100 million available color combinations and Bose Personal Plus system in the boldly new 2021 Nissan Kicks. Bose is the registered trademark of the Bose Corporation. Color combinations include interior and exterior colors. Customization is an available feature subject to availability at participating Nissan dealers. See dealer for details.
Termite season is quickly approaching. Is your home protected? Whether you're renovating or getting ready for spring, stop termites, mice, and ants in their tracks. Visit VikingPest.com for a pest-free home. That's VikingPest.com.
You can watch the Sports Bash live now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Search 97.3 ESPN or visit our website, 97.3ESPN.com.
All right, time for Inside the Sixers. Paul Hudrick is back, and of course, he, like all guests, appears via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN brought to you by Matt Blatt Nissan. The all-new Matt Blatt Nissan is now open on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, next to Home Depot. Online, mattblattnissan.com. All right, last night we were supposed to see a pair of Sixers in the All-Star game. That didn't happen. A wonky story that maybe Paul has more details on what it means moving forward, why they were not able to play last night. We'll get that in just a second, plus some other information. I got betting odds out here that has a new leader in the clubhouse if you're betting for the NBA champion, and that team resides in the Eastern Conference, not the West. So we'll have that coming up right now on Inside the Sixers. Paul Hudrick is back. He's the host of the Coming In for a Landing podcast, and you can read all of his work at 97.3ESPN.com. Paul, what's up, man?
Just living the dream on a Monday, Mike.
I love a Monday. There's so much going on. It's the All-Star game last night kind of in this area kind of got marred a little bit by the fact that yesterday afternoon, out of nowhere, it was reported that they were going to be uncertain. Then they were out. What do we know about how that will affect them for Thursday night against the Bulls?
I don't think we know much as of now, just because we don't know the contact tracing with the barber, because that's, if anyone who doesn't know, that's how this all started, is that Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons.
When you say a barber, you mean the guy who cut their hair. He had COVID, correct?
So from what I understand, they were, yes, he did test positive. The initial was they weren't sure if he was going to test positive. I don't know the details if this barber who they had seen, who is based in this area, out of the Philly area, if he had come in contact with it or whatever. I don't know the whole circumstance of that, but he did on Sunday in the afternoon test positive, which then was why Embiid and Simmons are both held out. Like any normal human being, you're on a big stage, you want to get a nice fresh cut. That was the idea. Then obviously their barber test positive, and that's what kind of put this into a whirlwind. And that's when they were both ruled out, was when the barber was deemed that he did have a positive test. They both continue to test negative, meaning Embiid and Simmons. What that means, I mean, I don't, it depends on, when they had contact with the barber, how long they were in contact. There's just so many factors into what it means for them coming up. For the NBA, it's been 7 days. If contact tracing deems that you were close enough to a person, it's 7 days you have to sit out. So a lot is going to depend on when they saw the barber, how long they were in his presence, and all of those kind of things. So all of that matters. But it's complicated, Mike. I don't know when we're going to get answers. I'm hoping we'll get them soon. But, their status, I would say, is very much in the air for not just Thursday, but then Friday. They have a back-to-back coming right out of the break. So there's a chance they could be without both guys for at least the first 2 games coming out of the break.
Right, because if it's a week, it would be Sunday to Sunday, right? I mean, isn't it supposed to?
Well, no. So see, it would depend on when they had contact with the barber. If they had contact with the barber on Wednesday, let's say, which I don't think is the case because they played a game on Wednesday, then theoretically they would be available on Thursday. But again, if it's Thursday, then maybe they could be available for Friday. I don't know 100% how that's all going to work. And this is all also, that is all saying that they continue to test negative. So they still have to, provide multiple negative tests between then and when they are available. So we'll see. It's tricky. The whole protocol thing is very complicated. And like I said, the contact tracing, it's going to depend on so many factors about when the contact took place and how long it took place.
And that, of course, Paul, would change in the event that either one of them ended up coming down with the virus. This is that they've both, according to Doc last night anyway, they tested negative yesterday.
Correct. So they took tests and they were negative. As far as I know, they came back to Philly, so they're back home. They were allowed to travel back to the Philly area. As far as we know, they are testing negative. We haven't heard anything today about them testing. I'm sure they're getting tested again today, and we have not heard anything about a positive or a negative test. Which if you want, that might seem like good news, but who knows? Initially, it seems that they're negative, and we'll see how hopefully that continues throughout the course of the week, and hopefully we get more information on, again, the contact tracing and how long that would theoretically keep them out, if it keeps them out, at all. We'll see.
So obviously that is something that's going to be materializing and be very important over the next week, because as you mentioned, they come out of the gates with a busy schedule, and they have a team that is nipping at their ankles, if you will, in the standings. And that team just added a piece today. Blake Griffin has signed with the Brooklyn Nets. And with that, the Vegas odds have now shifted. Paul, the Brooklyn Nets are now the favorites to win the NBA championship. So how do you see the Blake Griffin deal, the addition for the Nets? I mean, do you look at this as a major shift, or how do you kind of read into that deal?
For me, if we're just to dissect the betting odds for a minute, I'm not a bettor. I can't lie and say that I am. It's probably better than I'm not. But I think it has more to do with the fact that people see the name Blake Griffin and then put money on the Nets because of that, and that ups the odds. I could be mistaken in how I'm kind of analyzing that, but that's what it seems like to me. Because listen, on a minimum deal, it's not a bad signing for the Nets. I mean, why not? Why not take a flyer on a guy who was an all-star, who does have some skills, who I think will play better with them than he did in that situation in Detroit. But this is not Lob City Blake Griffin. This is not an all-star anymore. This is not the same player. He's had multiple leg injuries. He's never been a great defensive player, so he hasn't gotten any better. He was a great rebounder because he was so explosive. I don't know, he's not that guy anymore. He's turned to a much better passer, a playmaker out of the post. I think he can still score in the post. You don't want to rely on that, but I think he's a guy who can do that. If he's hitting shots this year, he hasn't, but in the past, he's proven that he has been able to stretch his game out a little bit and hit threes. So theoretically, sure, he can maybe give you some small ball 5 minutes, but is this a move that to me catapults the Nets to the title favorites? No, I think it's a move that could theoretically help them, but they were dangerous before. The James Harden move was the needle moving move. This to me is not. It is a flyer. It is a why not kind of move for the Nets, and it might help them. But to say that this move shifts them in any way, I think is kind of silly, to be honest.
All right. So if you're just purely looking at a matchup with Philly and you add him in, I don't know who they're replacing in their lineup when you put him? I'm imagining he starts, right?
I don't know. I would imagine no, because you're probably going to start the big three guys with Joe Harris and DeAndre Jordan. I would think that would be the start. If you're moving Joe Harris to the bench, I'm not sure if that's the right move for right now, especially because I don't know where Blake Griffin is. I don't know how good he's going to be. I would imagine he starts off the bench. To me, the biggest thing, Mike, too, I think that people are like, it's kind of overshadowing, and I still think they miss the presence of Jared Allen, and I think they're going to continue to miss the presence of Jared Allen because he's a great offense. Like DeAndre Jordan, like Blake Griffin, is not the same guy. He's just not the guy he was with the Clippers. It's not the same player. Jared Allen, to me, was a guy that provided them some rim protection. He was decent against other bigs. Joel Embiid, no one could stop Joel Embiid right now, but if anyone could maybe give him a difficult time, he's one of the guys that perhaps could. And again, very good on the offensive and defensive glass. So to me, that's the guy that I think that type of player is kind of the archetype of the guy they needed, and they traded him to get James Harden. So to me, I don't think Blake Griffin replaces that. So I think they're still going to be active. They're still going to be looking for a guy who can play that type of game. So, this isn't just their last move. I think this is a move that's going to affect them, meaning Jared Allen. That's a move that's going to affect them now and going into the playoffs. I don't think they've ever really, truly replaced that skill set.
Paul Hudrick is the host of the Coming In for a Landing podcast. It's Inside the Sixers here on the Sports Bash. Over the weekend, there was a couple of names that you're going to start hearing these names. I mean, we still have a little ways to go, although it's getting closer to this trade deadline. Larry Nance was over the weekend. Also, PJ Tucker is one that we may have talked a little bit about on Friday. I think we did on Friday about Tucker, but Larry Nance is kind of interesting. He's having a good year shooting the ball. Best year he's had shooting the ball. Very athletic. Would he fill that stretch four behind Tobias? TJ Tucker, I guess you're getting a more veteran, crafty guy. But as I know you guys are going to be working on a story for the website here, these names are going to start coming out. But do any of those two names rank ahead of, if you're just saying we just need that one little piece, is Larry Nance that one little piece that makes you feel like, okay, no, that's the guy?
I wouldn't go that far, but I would say Larry Nance is a guy I would certainly have interest in. He could help them in a big way. As you mentioned, his shot has come a really long way. He was shooting 38% from three when he got hurt. And that's a steady improvement over the years. He has really stretched his game out, and he's become that guy. His defense has really improved. I think he was averaging close to 2 steals a game, again, before he got hurt. He gives you some positional versatility in that he can play the 4, he can play the 5. He's good if you're, when you're looking to switch. He won't get killed by guards and switches. If that winds up happening, if you get unfavorable matchups, he'll be able to handle his own. And then I love the idea of him in the small ball 5 role and then kind of running some pick and roll with some guys. So let's say again, hypothetically, you get, even if it's just Shake Milton, let's just say you have him and Shake Milton kind of running where Shake's the 1 and he's the 5. I love them in the pick and roll. I think you could definitely make some things happen where, again, because Nance has expanded his game and he can hit the 3, he can pick and pop, he can pick and roll because he's so explosive. He's a really good, at the rim. He can play above the rim, really good at catching lobs and kind of timing that. He's a good rebounder, good offensive rebounder. He's really active. So I think Larry Nance could absolutely play a big role and help them out in a big way. I would say he's with all due respect to Mike Scott, he's an upgrade over Mike Scott. And yeah, he's a guy, and also his contract is beyond this year. So he's a guy that could not only help you out this season in a title run, but perhaps in the future. He has some playoff experience, as you alluded to, not as much as PJ Tucker, probably not as kind of playoff tested as PJ Tucker, but still has played his fair share of playoff games and played in big games. So Larry Nance, he'd be pretty high on my list as a guy. If you're looking at strictly a reserve to help upgrade the bench, he'd be pretty high on my list.
All right. By the way, those betting odds, Brooklyn's 1, Lakers 2, Clippers 3, Jazz 4, and then the 5th team is in the East, but it is not the Sixers. It is the Bucks. So right now, how do you see a matchup? Because everybody seems to be saying Sixers, Nets. How do you match up there? How do you see a Sixers, Bucks matchup?
It would be very interesting, and I think they still match up kind of favorably, again, compared to some other teams. I guess I would be Giannis is Giannis. You've seen in the past, Brett Brown has used Joel Embiid to guard Giannis. I don't know if that's what will happen. I don't know. Ben Simmons has come a long way, but Giannis does have a little bit of a strength factor on Ben Simmons, just a little bit. So I would be curious, but also Ben Simmons has done a pretty nice job on Chris Middleton, who I think is one of the more underrated players in the league. And Ben Simmons has done a pretty darn good job on him when they've matched up in the past. So I guess it would depend on the matchups. And I kind of worry, like the guy I kind of worry about, maybe that could be the X factor, would be Drew Holiday, offensively at least. As they sit here right now, you'd imagine Danny Green would have to guard Drew Holiday. That's not an easy matchup for him. And then defensively, Brook Lopez is a guy that, again, no one one-on-one, you're not stopping Joel Embiid. I don't care who you have. But Brook Lopez is a guy that gives them a chance compared to some other teams. So they match up pretty favorable in that sense as well. Again, Giannis probably guards Ben Simmons. Middleton's a decent defender. He probably gets to Tobias Harris. So it would be a really good matchup. I'll put it that way. I know Milwaukee is another team. Their bench maybe hasn't been what they thought it would be. Guys like DiVincenzo, DJ Augustine, Bobby Portis maybe aren't what they had before. And guys like, a guy like Wes Matthews and what he gave them last year. So, and George Hill as well, who's another guy that's been mentioned as maybe a Sixers target. So Milwaukee's going to be another team that's going to be in the mix for these bench pieces. So before they're competing on the floor, they're going to be competing for some of these other names you're going to hear, because they could certainly use a PJ Tucker or a Larry Nance as well. So I think they're pretty evenly matched teams, the Sixers and the Bucks. And I think those little moves could be ones that put those teams over the top. Whether it is a Larry Nance or a PJ Tucker or George Hill, those guys could be the difference in a matchup when teams are so closely matched up as far as starting fives go.
Well, I know that trade deadline, everybody will have their eyes on that. And, of course, the Sixers, Daryl Morey, what move will he make? We'll also be having our eyes on whether or not Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons will be ready to go for Thursday night when the Sixers take on the Bulls. You can hear that game right here on 97.3 ESPN. They play the Wizards on Friday, so a back-to-back situation. Then they're right back at it with the Spurs on Sunday, Tuesday with the Knicks, Wednesday. Get our first look at those Bucks. So that should be a very interesting time. By the way, the Knicks team, much improved. Spurs team, much improved. You got to deal with Bradley Beal and that Wizards team, which has actually played some better ball in recent times before the break. So out of the gates, here we go. Thursday night, Paul and the team of Sixers guys over at 97.3 ESPN.com will have all the coverage of the second half right here on 97.3. All right, Paul, it's good to see you, man.
You too, Mike. Take care, man.
And Paul Hendrick, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. And, of course, you could check out his Coming In for a Landing podcast. I ask all of you to check that out for the best Sixers conversation on the web. All right, coming up, a lot of text messages I got to get back to. I got to get back to your chat. You guys are chatting away over there about the Eagles conversation that we've had. And if you want more on this Eagles news, the latest is at 97.3 ESPN.com regarding Jeffrey Lurie and what he wants to do with Jalen Hurts. Can you believe this story? Jeff Mosher with more on it in 20 minutes.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action.
They scored!
The Flyers host the Buffalo Sabres tomorrow. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN and listen live on the free mobile app.
Get the credit you deserve during Matt Blatt Kia's Madness in March sales event with 0 down and 0% APR financing for 75 months. Get to Matt Blatt Kia in Toms River and Egg Harbor Township, because at Matt Blatt Kia, we want to get you approved today. And you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Plus, we want your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. So get out of that old car you hate. Come in today or visit us online and get the credit you deserve. Put 0 down and get 0% APR financing available for up to 75 months on every new 2021 Kia Sportage, or take $2,500 off MSRP, because
it's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Offers with approved Tier 1 or 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on $1,333 per $1,000 borrowed. All Kia Motors factory rebates to dealer. Go to MattBlattKiaNJ.com for complete details. Expires 4/5/2021. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Making popcorn for movie night?
Whoa, who are you?
This is your wake-up call from TracFone Wireless. What if every time you tried a new streaming service, you had to buy a new TV?
That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, some wireless companies do that when you switch, make you buy a new phone.
Right.
But TracFone Wireless lets you keep your phone and your number and your network, and gives you unlimited talk and text starting at $20 a month.
Seriously, who are you?
This is your wake-up call, people. TracFone Wireless. Now you're in control. Oh, you're burning it.
Oh, no.
See terms and conditions at TracFone.com.
A message from your neighbors and friends at First Bank. We've been serving residents and businesses of Sea Isle City and the surrounding communities for more than 130 years. Today's challenges, while unique, are another opportunity to show our strength and resilience. Our commitment to you remains strong. Whether it's using our drive-through services, bank by phone, the First Bank mobile app, or online banking, we're staying strong with you. Be safe and be secure. First Bank, here for you.
Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Hello?
Hello, Mrs. Kuntz. It's the back left tire of your RV calling. Wanted to give you a heads up that I'm going to blow out on the highway later today.
Wait, what?
Says here I'm going to burst in the middle of rush hour.
Well, can we reschedule?
Sorry, our policy states that once we're scheduled to burst, we have to. We really pride ourselves on our commitment to blowouts.
RV owners can't schedule when things go wrong on the road. That's why there's Progressive, a leader in RV insurance.
Do you want a text confirmation when I burst?
Think I'll notice.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Heard the good news about COVID-19 vaccines? They're here, but you can do more than wait for your turn. Here's how. Stay at least 6 feet away from folks you don't live with. And it's risky to be indoors with them too. And masks? Well, they protect both the person wearing them and the folks around them. Wear a mask, watch your distance, and make a big difference now.
Learn more about vaccines at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
This is Renee.
Happy to be here.
She's not some influencer. She's more of a groundbreaker, turning her 4-acre lot into a little slice of heaven behind the wheel of a John Deere 1 Series tractor. Renee runs with us because the most important job is the next one.
That's all I got.
Nothing runs like a Deere. Get a 1 Series tractor for just $99 per month at your John Deere dealer today. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
If you're very quiet, you can hear it. The joy, the freedom, the crunch. From 100% whole grain oats. Stay outside longer with Nature Valley Oats and Honey Crunchy Granola Bars. We are better outside.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Hey, welcome back. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. And if you're watching the show live at 97.3ESPN.com, I'm Mike Gill, at Mike Gill Show. Give me a follow on Twitter. Also, if you're watching the show, make sure you share it on whatever platform you're watching on. I appreciate that as well. Sports Bash is brought to you by Copiers Plus, providing quality products and services to South Jersey businesses since 1986. Services their specialty online, copiersplus.com. So a lot of questions coming in. I'm going to get back to the text and start ripping back through. By the way, Mike's mailbag is now open at Mike Gill Show. Send me your questions. I'll answer the Mike's mailbag questions from last week. I never got to that on Friday, so I will do that today, and I will do that coming up at 4:25 today. Mike's mailbag, first edition, 4:25. If you want a question, get it in at Mike Gill Show on Twitter for this week's edition of Mike's mailbag. Will Ertz be traded this week? I'm glad you brought that up because there was a report yesterday that said that he will be traded in the coming days, which would tell me, yes, he would be traded this week. However, there was a little bit of a wrench thrown into the wheel, if you will. And that is that, according to Jeff McClain of the Inquirer, that Zach Ertz's preference is if the Eagles released him. The reason is he wants to be able to pick his destination. The team wants to get something in return, as McClain puts out there. Now, here we go. The stare down begins. Ertz wants to be released because he doesn't want the Eagles to pick where he's going to go. Now, there are some reports out there that said there's a lot of teams that are lobbying for their team to try to make a trade for Zach Ertz. Here becomes the problem. Teams want to trade for Ertz. They might know that the Eagles have to try to release him. Then they get into a situation where they say, hey, I could just go sign this guy by myself. I don't need to give up anything. So the Eagles are in kind of a tough situation. I think the Ertz thing, here's what I would tell you. If you are excited about the possibility of what you can get back in return for Zach Ertz, I would lose that excitement. I don't think you're getting all that much for Zach Ertz. Sad to say, one of the best tight ends in football for a pretty long period of time there, but wrong side of 30, coming off of an injury, worst year that he's ever had. I just don't think you're getting much more than a fourth-round pick. I would say this, okay? This is what I'll tell you. You don't have a fourth-round pick this year. So don't be surprised if the Eagles just acquiesce to, you want to give us a fourth-round pick, we'll take it. So whatever team coughs up the fourth-round pick, I think that's the team that gets Zach Ertz. Now, if a team offers a third, sure, they're going to take that. Then you'd have 3 third-round picks. But don't sit here and think you're going to get a first-round pick for Zach Ertz. That ain't happening. I wouldn't even shoot for a second-round pick. You might get a third. Here's the problem with the third, okay? Here's the problem with one of the third. The fact of the matter is this. Seattle is interested in Ertz. They don't have a third-round pick. That's a problem, right? You don't have a third-round pick from a team that's interested in him. Another team that's interested in him is Indianapolis. Well, as we know, the Indianapolis Colts, I just believe, they gave you a third-round pick, so they don't have one. So I doubt you're going to go right back to the Colts to try to trade again with the Colts. Those were 2 teams that were reported to be interested. Now, I'm not suggesting that they're both not interested, but if I'm the Colts and I just gave you a third-round pick to get Carson Wentz, I'm not giving you another pick to go get Zach Ertz in this year's draft, most likely. You're probably looking at a future pick if you're dealing with the Colts. As for Seattle, John Clayton was on the show with us a couple of weeks ago. We asked him about Seattle. He told us most likely would have to be for a fourth-round pick. So anybody who wants something for Ertz, I don't think you're getting much more than a fourth. And a fourth isn't terrible considering you don't have one. And since I don't have a fourth currently, am I okay with just taking the fourth because I don't have a fourth? Or do you want to hold on to him? Not hold on to him because you're going to keep him. Hold on to him for a better offer, I guess I should say. Because I'm going to tell you right now, Zach Ertz will not be on the Philadelphia Eagles in 2021. There is essentially a 0% chance. There's about a 0% chance that he is back. Sports Bash is live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. Mike, why do you think Ertz is basically done and on the downside of his career? I didn't say that at all. And by the way, I said he's on the wrong side of 30. That doesn't mean he can't have a couple more productive years left. The point is, it means his value has gone down to other teams because they're not getting his prime years. And number 2, offensive linemen typically have longer careers than skill position players. So, yes, a offensive lineman at 32, 33 years old typically has more left in the tank than a skill position player does because the offensive line is not predicated on speed up front. It's more strength and it's more technique. You still have to have some semblance of being able to get open and have some speed, but I don't think Ertz is basically done. I don't think he's on the downside of his career. I definitely think his best years are probably behind him, but I didn't say that he's done and on the downside. I just said he's on the wrong side of 30. So I don't think that Ertz and the offensive line are in the same situation here. I think Ertz probably gives you another 2 solid years. I think you get another couple, about 2 years. Like, look at Jason Witten. Okay, Jason Witten, one of the best tight ends to ever play the game, right? But by the end, Jason Witten wasn't the same player that you had. At what point did Jason Witten production all of a sudden start to kind of dip? And it wasn't that Jason Witten just all of a sudden stunk, but right around the time he was, I want to say, man, Witten, he was a 90 catch guy. He had 110 catches when he was 30 years old. And then he went down to 73, 64. He was 1,000-yard receiver, Witten. And then after that, he went from 1,000 to 8 to 7 to 6 to 5. And then he retired. His best season came at 30. At 31, he dropped. 32, he dropped. 33, he dropped. 34, he dropped. 35, he dropped. So he started to decline, but it doesn't mean that he was terrible. He just wasn't the Jason Witten that you remember. Zach Ertz, I don't think is going to fall off the map, but if you think you're getting 116 catch Zach Ertz again, you're sorely mistaken. 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. Text board is open. Also, this is funny. A lot of the chat messages coming in here reacting. Then, all right, so let's see. This is from Chris Crawford, who's watching on YouTube. My crazy part, we might have to trade Brooks. We already restructured 4 contracts and almost still $30 million over the cap. So we can't even talk about free agency at all. Yeah, you're in a pickle. You know that the Saints are about $50 million over the cap still? Like, was it 40? What are they? 43 million, 44 million, 49 million, something like that. The Saints are astronomically over the cap. It's crazy how far over they were like 70 million when this thing started. And I haven't even heard what players have they started to cut. The Eagles will get under, and they'll find ways to do it. They might have to make, you're gonna see them. Now they have to designate post June 1st and pre June 1st and all that stuff. They'll get some free agents in here. It's not going to be as bad. 48 million. The Saints are 48 million. They'll get under the cap. It's not going to be as bad free agent wise. You're not going to get any big time free agents. But it's not going to be as bad as everybody's making it out to be. This is what Roseman's good at, by the way. This is where people should stop complaining about Roseman right now. They'll get under the cap. They'll be fine. They'll get it done. Jeff Bone and Pookie, my man Jeff, what's up? Watching on YouTube. I mean, what would you trade Ertz for? What would I trade him for? I think what you hope to get a 3rd-round pick. The likely scenario is you get a 4th. That's to me the realistic option. I'm not the guy out there who's going to say, Zach Ertz, I got to get a 1st-round pick. You're not getting a 1st-round pick for 30-year-old Zach Ertz. I would shoot for a 3rd, probably land a 4th. If I'm lucky, you might end up getting a 5th. And it might not even be in this draft. It might not even be in this year's draft. You might have to take the pick in next year's draft. That's the problem. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. Download the free mobile app on your phone. By the way, some sad news. Phillies fans, remember, Riel Cormier, the former left-hander, passed away earlier today. Just got news from the Phillies. And some breaking news in the local high school basketball scene at 97.3ESPN.com.
Sign up now for this year's $1 Million Bracket Challenge. Registration is underway now at 97.3ESPN.com and the free mobile app until the tournament begins. The listener whose bracket has the most correct will win a $500 golden getaway in Atlantic City. Thanks to our friends at GoldenNuggetSports.com. And the top 20 listener brackets will receive a free bed at GoldenNuggetSports.com. So register for the $1 Million Bracket Challenge.
Hell yeah!
Now at 97.3ESPN.com or the free mobile app. Must be 21 plus to place a bet. Only available in New Jersey. Free bets are for online sportsbook only. Please see website for terms and conditions.
A national championship.
So head to 973ESPN.com or the free mobile app and register for the $1 million bracket.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff. Learn more, live better.
March is National Nutrition Month, an annual campaign created by the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics to help us learn more about making informed food choices and developing healthy eating habits. This year's theme is Personalize Your Plate. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to nutrition and health. We are all unique with different bodies, goals, backgrounds, and tastes. One of the easiest steps we can take right now, add some color to our plates. Studies show that only 1 in 10 U.S. adults get enough daily fruits and vegetables. Try this. Make half your plate fruits and vegetables and fill the other half with lean proteins and grains. The goal is 2 cups of fruit and 2.5 cups of vegetables daily. Personalize your plate and you'll be on your way to eating healthier. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life.
Switch to T-Mobile for Business and get up to 90 days of service free via virtual rebate on your business plan. You get a great deal, the largest 5G network, and first-class benefits like Microsoft 365 on us. It's better for business and only with T-Mobile for Business. Limited time offer. Stop in store for details. Plus taxes and fees for some plans. Virtual Express MasterCard within 8 weeks of receipt of valid submission. Complete port within 60 days. See T-Mobile.com for 5G devices, coverage, and plan details.
Conference tournaments are tipping off. Bubble teams are making their final push. Top seeds are preparing for what they hope is a long run. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is putting new customers in the center of the action. Bet $4 on an underdog. Win $256 if they win. It's that simple. That's bet $4 on an underdog in select college basketball games, and if they win, you collect $256. The bank is open. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code 973 when you sign up to turn $4 into $256 if the underdog of your choosing pulls off the upset. That's code 973 for a limited time, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or New Jersey only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
O'Reilly. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, get up to a $15 gift card after mail-in rebate when you purchase select Superstart batteries. With the power and capacity your vehicle demands, Superstart batteries are designed for lasting performance and consistent starts. Turn the key with confidence with Superstart batteries only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You have the choice, whether it's going out for dinner or ordering takeout at a local restaurant or buying that new outfit from a local boutique. Those choices help to put money back into your community. And Town Square Media South Jersey puts a spotlight on local businesses.
First Bank of Sea Isle City, Cape May County's community bank.
Dr. Lyle M. Back for everything from skincare to cosmetic surgery. Go to ilovelylback.com.
Egg Harbor Independent French Leader at Charles Schwab in the Consumer Square Shopping Plaza.
Filling Marble and Tile Outlet, Philadelphia Avenue and Route 30 in Egg Harbor City. FillingMarble.com.
Intuitive Women's Health in Summers Point, accepting new patients. Schedule an appointment today at intuitivewomenshealth.net.
East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows services all of South Jersey. If you call, they'll show up. Call East Coast today at 609-646-1444. Online at eastcoastroofing.com.
Thank you for supporting your local businesses. From Town Square Media, South Jersey.
A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
He is hit. He stumbles. He's down.
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. 97.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4 with Jeff Mosier.
I think our track record in the last 20 years, how many
NFC East titles, playoff appearances, and appearances in the NFC Championship game. Those are some of the metrics I look at, and I'll compare our record with almost anybody.
Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. This is Football at 4.
Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Dropped this morning, 6 a.m. The new one will be out on Thursday, but check out the latest this morning. They had plenty to talk about, as do we. Jeff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast. It's Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast and brought to you by Dr. Lyle M. Back. For everything from skincare to cosmetic surgery, go to ilovelyle.com or call 856-MAKEOVER for Dr. Lyle M. Back, proud sponsor of Football at 4. Talk about a makeover, Jeff. This offseason, this team, this franchise is going over a makeover, but one spot that they might not be going for the makeover look is at the quarterback position. According to Chris Mortensen today, Moshe, Jeffrey Lurie has said, no, there will be no quarterback here. Let's build around Jalen Hurts. What do you make of this report by Chris Mortensen today, who, by the way, was chastised a bit by some of the local Philly beat writers, and Mortensen was standing his ground that, no, in fact, Lurie wants to keep Hurts and build around him this offseason. Very interesting report today.
Yeah, I have not known Chris Mortensen to get too many reports incorrectly when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. So I would not challenge him on what he's saying, and I think it is reflective of a pattern that we've seen over the last few years of Jeffrey Lurie being more hands-on in his decision-making. And we've had this conversation before about the hiring and firing of coaches like Mike Groh. We've had this conversation before about draft picks. We've had this conversation about the vision of the franchise for long-term. So clearly this falls in line with some of the things that Adam and I have been talking about on Inside the Birds for quite a while about Jeffrey being, an increased presence in these kind of decisions, despite the fact that he says he's not.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing that I'm torn with here. You don't want the owner to have, kind of step into this realm, but I like the decision. Like if I'm a fan, I'm happy with the decision of, hey, don't go after a quarterback. Give this guy a shot. Let's get him some weapons and kind of go from there. But I'm also torn that if that's the message coming from the owner, does the owner have too much say? Although, do we not know if the owner had this kind of say-so how far back into his ownership? Because if he did, then I don't have a lot of problem with it because they've had a lot of success that maybe whatever he says has some merit.
Yeah, but then you have to kind of take a dive into how much of what he demanded.
Looks like Jeff is frozen out on us here for a second. We'll see if we can't get him back into the conversation here. The point that I'm making with Jeff is essentially that if Lurie is in fact, people say Lurie has too much say in things, but when did Lurie start to have too much say in things? How long has it been that Lurie has essentially had all of this say-so? Has it been like this ongoing occurrence? Is it something? There he is. Let's bring him back into the conversation, Jeff Mosher. All right.
Right.
Again, how long has Lurie had all this? Like if Lurie said, hey, let's go out and get Terrell Owens. Okay, I agree with you there. If he's the guy that said, let's go draft Zach Ertz in round 2, like, all right, then fine. So when has he gotten involved? How long has he been doing this kind of?
Yeah, it's a fair question. Look, he's the owner, and he's always been an involved owner, as he's mentioned about asking questions, right? So there's always been a big part of Jeffrey Lurie having an involvement with the organization. Some of the things that we're talking about in the last few years, hiring and firing coaches, draft picks, things of that, deciding who's going to be the quarterback, is not things that I've heard that Jeffrey's been involved with in the past. Of course, he was out there in Bismarck, right, for that dinner with Carson Wentz years ago because the owner wants to know who's going to be the next franchise quarterback in his team and wants to hear that out himself. And, we've had Joe Banner on our Inside the Birds TV show many times, and Joe is, since being removed from the organization, I think has been more candid, and he has said that Jeffrey has always asked a lot of questions, asked the type of questions that made that he wants to really know what's going on from, inside out, but that he's never, quote unquote, meddled in decision making. But I think some of the things that you're hearing about and that we've reported on the last 2 or 3 years cross the line of just being inquisitive to kind of calling the shots. And I understand what you're saying, and many people are feeling this way about they like Jalen Hurts and they want to see him be the quarterback. But I have to think, if you're rational, you want the process to be right. Because if your owner likes the quarterback, you like the quarterback, but your head coach wasn't that fond, didn't have a great.
Well, essentially, and it looks like Jeff's kind of frozen up again on us here. We'll get Jeff back to work in just a second. On that, you just said if the coach doesn't like it, is the coach hired? Like, in other words, hey, what do you think of Jalen Hurts? He's just okay. You probably aren't hiring that coach.
Am I here? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, I never froze up. That's why I was confused. So, yeah, no, I mean, maybe look, we don't know. We haven't heard from Nick Sirianni publicly since his press conference. And I'm not saying that he's not on board with the decision. I'm just raising the idea is if you apply it to this situation, you have to apply it to every situation. Your owner is either going to call shots or not call shots. And if you're going to be happy about him calling shots, then you can't knife him. As I wrote on InsideTheBirds.com today, you can't give him a slap on the back saying, yeah, you're with me, with my guy, Jalen Hurts, but then shove the knife in his back when you don't like his influence on a J.J. Arcega-Whiteside pick. A good owner hires the people to make the decisions so that when the people come to him for approval, he says, yes, I understand what you're doing because I trust you. That's why I hired you. Doesn't mean he can't settle a tie. I've heard of owners settling a tie between a coach and a GM or being that third and final vote. That's fine. That's going to happen. It sounds more like this is not a committee decision all the time, though, and it's more like, what does the owner want?
Okay, I want you to listen. This was Sal Palantonio on with me right after the draft last year. I want to get your reaction to this comment here. Take a listen.
This was Doug Peterson's pick. And the dynamic within that organization is they are co-equal partners, Roseman and Peterson. Roseman makes the final call, but he is not going to do anything that Peterson hasn't bought into. That's just not the way it is. Roseman owes Peterson, and Peterson owes Roseman for that Super Bowl trophy that's in his office that we saw on draft night.
All right. So he opened it by saying this was a Doug Peterson pick. That was on referencing why they picked Jalen Hurts. Peterson wanted Hurts. Roseman says, you want Hurts? I like Hurts. We're on board. Today, Mortensen suggested that maybe Laurie was, I don't know, how did he feel about the whole Hurts thing?
It's my understanding that Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie were a big advocate. I think they even admitted that, right, at the press conference about using the analogy of missing out on Russell Wilson years ago to make sure that you don't miss out on a guy again that you identify that you want. And so it's my understanding that Jeffrey and Howie were in lockstep with that pick and perhaps even the driving force behind it. You know, I don't know if Doug okayed it, wasn't okay with it, or was saying he was okay because he's trying to please his bosses. You always wonder if the story changes now that roles have changed and certain guys have moved on. You wonder what they would say now. But it is my understanding that Jeffrey and Howie were big into that pick. Remember, as Adam and I have talked about on the podcast quite a lot, most teams we spoke to had Jalen Hurts rated as a round 3 and a round 4 guy. And as I've said on the podcast before, there were people in that scouting department, that front office, who were surprised and blindsided, as I've reported, when that pick was made. So that suggests to you that not everybody in the organization, top to bottom, saw that pick the same way.
Yeah. Jeff Mosher, Inside the Birds podcast. How do you make the wording from Mortensen? He has instructed his group to prioritize making Hurts successful in 2021 as opposed to creating a true competition. What is prioritizing making Hurts successful? Does that say we need to draft a receiver? We need to draft a weapon? We need to does that negate defense altogether? Like, how do you read into that? The wording of that is, you know, we need to prioritize making Hurts successful in 2021.
Well, I mean, I don't read into it any one specific position or player. I read into that Jeffrey Lurie wants Sirianni and his staff to grow the team the best it can around Jalen Hurts for now, whether that's giving him more weapons, playmakers, or offensive line.
You think the message is more to the coach or to
both? I'm sorry, to the entire team. Yeah,
like on draft day. In other words, like he's instructed his group to prioritize Hurts. Do you think that's a direct, hey, with this draft pick, don't be thinking about taking a linebacker because we got Hurts. He's our guy, and you need to get him help.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm not privy to those conversations. I would imagine that means make sure you have a good offensive line and a good set of weapons. I'm sure they're not going to ignore the defense. I mean, we'll see going on. But I think what it suggests, I don't know for a fact, suggests just by reading it, is that they know that if they want to get if they were going to try to get a quarterback, Zach Wilson's probably going to go 2. And if that happens, then you never know where Fields is going to go. It could be 3, 4, or 5. And now you're talking about moving up to get him, and even moving up just 1 spot or 2 in the draft, as we saw with the Bears and Trubisky. You still got to give up future first-round picks. It's tough to then build around any one single quarterback, right? If you're now giving up draft capital to get that quarterback. So I have to think that that's their way of saying we've got at least a guy here that we picked in the second round, and let's try to build around him. I'm not telling you that I think that that's the most sound strategy. I think the sound strategy is if the head coach believes in a quarterback, then that's the quarterback you should try to get.
What do you think of, see, I kind of read the tea leaves on this. Jalen Hurts is on the Adam Schefter podcast, these other places. Are the Eagles letting him go on podcasts if they didn't believe in him? If he wasn't their starting quarterback in their mind, are they saying, yeah, go ahead on Adam Schefter's podcast? I think he was on a couple other podcasts, by the way. I don't think it was just the Schefter. I think he was on the K Adams NFL Network podcast and another one. So he was on multiple podcasts. You think the Eagles are approving this if they didn't think he was their guy?
Well, I don't know if they went through the Eagles or they went through Hurts's representation to do that, first of all. So that's hard to tell. I do think the Eagles believe in him, but the question is, when you say the Eagles, who are you talking about? Are you talking about Jeffrey? Are you talking about Sirianni? Are you talking about Howie? As I've said, I don't think that there is a unilateral, everybody's on board, one opinion on Jalen Hurts. So it kind of makes it difficult to talk about this in the terms of the Eagles. It's which person from the Eagles are we referring to?
True. Yeah, I mean, this story today with Lurie essentially, and then saying, hey, and the way that Mortensen kind of really hammered it home was that the owner's the owner, and what he gets, what the owner wants, the owner gets. Jalen Hurts is the quarterback this year. They don't want to bring competition in for him, end quote. So, I mean, that to me says they're not taking a quarterback at 6, so which means, a trade out. But then the other part of it of making him most successful in 2021 would kind of say to me, you need to get him some weapons. You need to get him some people to help make him a better player. So that's that.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's like, I mean, where have I heard this line before? Coming out of 2019, we need to get the roster younger. We didn't. We need to make sure Carson's got a good support system around him. They didn't. So I'm sorry, but like a lot of things they say are just words sometimes. We want a top 5 offense to be really competitive. Okay, great. You didn't. You had a bottom 5 offense. It reminds me of having a decision in firing Mike Groh because you didn't like that offense that finished 12th in the NFL but was top 5 in third down and red zone.
This is the chicken or the egg conversation. They might say we brought guys in, the player wasn't good enough to get any. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, hey, well, that's the player that they drafted too. So gave it a lot of money to.
Look, nobody gets absolved of some of the problems that are here. Everybody has a hand in it. I want to get your take on a few other things. You have said on this show about Brooks, and apparently there are some reports that they have talked about trading him. Now, I don't like this at all. But my question is this other team saying, we know you have cap problems and calling, or are the Eagles saying, we got to get rid of this guy because we got cap problems?
Oh,
is he imperative to move if you want to get under this cap? Or are there other ways? Can you avoid moving Brandon Brooks and still get under the cap?
Probably. I definitely think you could. I mean, you can restructure him, Fletcher Cox, and then try to reach an extension with Derek Barnett that would lower the cap significantly. So it can be done. It's important to note that any trade that they make can't be legitimized until the start of the new league year, right? So you have to be compliant with the cap at the start of the league year. So if they were to trade Zach Ertz, theoretically, much like with Carson Wentz, that money doesn't move or become off the books until the start of the league year. So it doesn't help you get under the cap at that moment to trade Zach Ertz. So that's why it does have to be through restructures or other ways, extensions. So again, with Brandon Brooks, it's the same thing. If you trade him, yes, it's more that you're trading him to try to continue to get under the cap, to make other moves that you might want to make. We know they only have Jalen Hurts under contract, and they're going to need some backup quarterbacks, and they're going to need a couple of veterans here and there in free agency. So trading Brooks would be a way to continue to clear more space to have for the year, but also to try to get some kind of value in return for a guy who has probably seen his better days and is coming off major injuries. And as good as he's been, if
All right, Sports Bash Live 97.3. There he is. Mosh, you back? There we go.
Yeah, where'd you lose me at?
As good as he's been. You were right at the end there.
Yeah, I was just saying, as good as he's been, it's still a way to kind of, instead of restructuring and kicking the money down the road like they've done for a lot of guys, they wouldn't have to do it for Brandon.
Yeah, he's got 4 years left on that deal. So there's a lot of years still left for Brandon Brooks. You don't want to be paying him too much further past those 4 years. Speaking of years left on the deal, we know Zach Ertz has years left on his deal, but he will not be back here. Now, there are some reports that he could be traded in the coming days. The question would be, I saw Jeff McClain put out there that he would like to be released, Ertz, because he wants to be able to pick where he wants to play. I'm sure the Eagles they say that's fine and dandy, but if we can get something for you, we will. The question is, if teams know you're up against it, you're not getting anything. I mean, I don't know. Is shooting for a third or a fourth the best they could do, or do you think that's a pipe dream?
I think it's a pipe dream. I'm sure I would imagine that they've asked for a third, at least to start the conversation.
Yeah, we know Indianapolis doesn't have a third, and we know Seattle doesn't have a third. So those are two teams interested. They don't have a third.
They're not getting a third. They're not. They're not. So, I mean, maybe you can get a fourth conditional. That would be, I think, even nice too. But I mean, if enough teams think that he's going to get cut, I can't imagine that teams are going to be scrambling to give up a whole lot for Zach Ertz.
Right. I mean, you're coming off the worst year you've ever had. You're 30 years old, and he makes $8.2 million in a year that people are cap strapped. He makes a lot, and there's a lot of options out there. This tight end position, there's a lot of free agent options.
Well, one thing on that though, Mike, is that any team that trade for him can take that $8 million and call it a signing bonus and divide it over 3. They can sign him to a 3 or 4 year deal, divide it over so that it's spread out and it's not a big cap hit if they cut him. Not every team does that. I'm almost talking in Eagles language now, but I mean, there's ways to make sure that cap number for the first year isn't so bad.
Right. And by the way, the other team that operates much like the Eagles are the Saints, and they are $48 million over the cap right now. So they've correct.
Yes.
They operate very much like the Eagles do.
They do. And the common the denominator there is, in the last 2 or 3 years, neither team has reached its goal. So,
yep. Mickey Loomis is the longtime GM of the Saints. Heck, he's been there since I feel like I was a kid.
Yeah. It helps to have Drew Brees as your quarterback for 20 years. You're gonna be employed for quite a while.
So keep your eye on that. The Eagles are still trying to make moves. Check out the latest edition of the Inside the Birds podcast, and they'll have a new edition coming up. And you also have some new news and shows going on.
We definitely do, man. We've got the next Q&A coming out. That'll be Wednesday morning, 8 a.m. They're going to go through Eagles wide receivers. People are asking, so we're like, let's do it. Let's give the people what they want. So they're going to break down the whole wide receiver situation. And then, of course, Greg Cosell is going to join us starting March 30th once a week for 6 weeks to do a draft show called Inside the Draft with Greg Cosell. That'll be me, Adam, and Greg Cosell just hitting the draft as hard as we possibly can. And, Cosell is one of the best, if not the best, non-NFL employee at breaking tape down. So I'm excited about that.
All right, follow them and check out Inside the Birds podcast. The new one dropped this morning, and the next one will be out on Thursday. They talk about the Kelsey and Slay deals. They have intel on the quarterback and wide receiver workouts and who else will be restructured, what is next there, plus Football at 4 all week long when something happens with this Eagles team. We've got you covered. The offseason, the NFL offseason begins on the 17th. So next next Wednesday is the opening of the new league year. We will be all over that here on Football at 4 and the guys at the Inside the Birds podcast. All right, pal, we'll talk to you soon.
All right, my brother. Have a good one.
Mosher's back Wednesday. Andrew's in tomorrow. Kaplan on Friday. The Sports Bash Live all over football with Football at 4 right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. When we come back, it's Mike's Mailbag, the first edition of Mike's Mailbag. If you have a question for next week's edition of Mike's Mailbag, at Mike Gill Show on Twitter. Football at 4 is brought to you by Dr. Lyle M. Back. For everything from skincare to cosmetic surgery, go to ilovelyle.back.com or call 856-MAKEOVER for Dr. Lyle M. Back, proud sponsor of Football at 4. And this hour of the show, of course, it's brought to you by my guys over at PropSwap, America's sports betting marketplace. Sell your sports bets and take your profit. You know, I was talking to Luke Burgandy from PropSwap today. They have no Joel Embiid tickets left. People are buying the Joel Embiid MVP tickets because where he started the year. So this is where PropSwap is great. You would have bought a Joel Embiid to win the MVP ticket at the beginning of the year. He is now the favorite, plus 190. You could have sold your ticket from the beginning of the year. If you have that ticket, if you have a ticket that is anything better than the plus 190 that's out there now, you can post that ticket at PropSwap.com and watch the bids come in, because people will say, hey, you got him at plus 240? I'll take that. You could charge what you want. That's the way PropSwap works. So if you have a Joel Embiid ticket, I put that up on PropSwap right now. It is the Sports Bash. Watch the show live. And if you're watching the show live, I ask you to share it on whatever platform you're watching on. Get it out there. Let's get more people involved, more viewers, more fun, more fans, more people. Mike's Mailbag is coming up next.
Turn it on. Leave it on. The Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
The all-new Matt Blatt Nissan is receiving a special allocation of new Nissans, and we need your trade. So get out of that old car, truck, or SUV and into a brand new 2021 Nissan Murano. $5,000 off MSRP, plus 0 down, and 0% APR financing for 60 months on new in-stock Nissan Sentras and Altimas. Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township next to Home Depot wants to approve your credit today so you can drive a new Nissan with 0 down payment and 0% APR financing, plus our fast-track checkout online at mattblattnissan.com. So bring any trade to Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township or at mattblattnissan.com. On approved credit, negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle. All factory rebates and incentives to dealer. Not all will qualify. 0% APR financing based on $1,333 for $1,000 borrowed. Murano 8 to choose. Offers can't be combined. Call 888-731-5030 for all the details. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
What's in store for your business this week at Staples?
Printing you new signs for the times.
Get back to business with custom printed signs and sales materials. Staples has hundreds of designs to choose from, or just upload your own.
And now at Staples, get 15% off signed posters or decals when you spend $75 or more.
Some items printed same day when ordered before 2 p.m.
Save big on custom printing at Staples.
Ends 5/29/21. Exclusions apply. Limit 1 offer per customer. See store associate or visit staples.com/signage for details.
Hey guys, are you afraid of taking off your shirt in public? Don't be embarrassed. Just say, I love Lyle Back instead with male breast reduction. Many men develop a fullness in their chest as boys that persists and even worsens as they get older. This condition is called gynecomastia, and with simple liposuction, most cases can be effectively treated. Call 856-MAKEOVER today to schedule your private consultation with Dr. Lyle M. Back. That's 856-MAKEOVER, or visit ilovelyleback.com.
Making popcorn for movie night?
Whoa, who are you?
This is your wake-up call from TracFone Wireless. What if every time you tried a new streaming service, you had to buy a new TV?
That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, some wireless companies do that when you switch, make you buy a new phone.
Right.
But TracFone Wireless lets you keep your phone and your number and your network, and gives you unlimited talk and text starting at $20 a month.
Seriously, who are you?
This is your wake-up call, people. TracFone Wireless. Now you're in control. Oh, you're burning it.
Oh, no.
See terms and conditions at TracFone.com.
Hey, we get it. You don't want to be hearing a Progressive commercial right now, so let us tell you something you do want to hear. You are powerful. You're a warrior who bathes in your enemy's tears. Then you step out of that refreshing tear bath and into a bathrobe that somehow looks good on you. Yeah, you can pull off a robe. There. Don't you feel better? You'll also feel better when you save money for driving safely with Snapshot from Progressive. Savings you can use to buy more robes. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California, North Carolina, or from all agents.
Dell's semi-annual sale is the perfect opportunity for a significant business upgrade. Save up to 45% on Dell computers built for business and powered by Intel Core processors. Plus, enjoy special pricing on Dell docks, monitors, servers, and more. All with easy financing options through Dell Financial Services. Speak to a Dell Technologies advisor today to find the right tech for your business with fast, free shipping. Call 877-ASK-DELL. Again, that's 877-ASK-DELL.
If you own a small business, you know how hard it can be to find new customers. Now, Town Square Media has new tools that can help your business stand out and grow. Go to GetLocalCustomersNow.com for a free competitive analysis that will show you what other businesses are doing to find new customers and how you can do it too with Town Square Media. Be one of the first business owners to sign up and receive $500 in free advertising on this station. Start growing your business today. Visit GetLocalCustomersNow.com. That's GetLocalCustomersNow.com.
If I'm not commuting anymore, where do I really want to live?
While you handle life's questions, Merrill Guided Investing helps you manage your portfolio and invest for your next move with the option to work with an advisor at a low cost and minimum. Merrill, a Bank of America company. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals to get started today.
Investing involves risk. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor, member SIPC. Investment products are not FDIC insured or not bank guaranteed and may lose value.
You can watch the Sports Bash live now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Search 97.3 ESPN or visit our website, 973ESPN.com.
All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. All right, Mike's mailbag. We're going to start this segment. I meant to do it on Friday. It was my fault that I forgot to do it on Friday. So I'll answer the questions in Mike's mailbag now. And as always, you can send questions throughout the show. But these are people who reach out to me on Twitter, at Mike Gill Show. So if you have a question for next week's Mike's mailbag, you can send it to me at Mike Gill Show. And we will pick out, 2 to 3 or 3 to 4. And I'll answer those on the website at 973ESPN.com. All right. So it's Mike's mailbag. Send your questions now at Mike Gill Show. Here we go. First question in this week's Mike's mailbag. Doug via Facebook wants to know, how is this Phillies center field situation shaking out? Are they going to stand pat or go after a guy like Jackie Bradley Jr.? Well, this question came before Jackie Bradley Jr. signed with the Brewers, but it's a very interesting question. Right now, it appears to be really a 3 to 4 player battle. Kingery, Quinn, and Herrera. Hasely got hurt. He's out 4 weeks, so he's not going to be ready for opening day. So I see this going a variety of ways. I believe that Odubel Herrera will start on opening day. I wrote about that at 973ESPN.com. I think Herrera will start on opening day. He bats left-handed. The Phillies will face a right-handed pitcher on opening day. He's so far had a very good spring. He's playing multiple positions, so I think that'll get his versatility on the roster. The wild card would be Mickey Moniak, who has had a really good spring. A couple of homers, had a hit the other day. He's looked pretty good at the plate. But with Hasely out, I think it almost definitively now puts Herrera on the roster. And not only on the roster, I think he starts on opening day. It's hard to imagine, though, how they're going to work all 4 of these guys. Kingery, Hasely, Quinn, and Herrera. And then you throw Moniak. I don't think Moniak makes the team, but I definitely think he opens up the possibility for trade scenarios. Trading Quinn, trading Hasely, trading Kingery. I don't think Herrera has a lot of value at this point, maybe even including Moniak in a trade. So keep them all in play here. Because Moniak, remember, was the number 1 overall pick in the draft. If he's starting to show some signs at 22 years old that he's starting to put things together, he might have a little trade value for something down the road. You know, like, remember when the Phillies traded for Mark Appel? He was the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And it was like, all right, you know what? You were the number 1 overall pick. I'll take him back as part of the trade. All right. So that is question 1 in Mike's mailbag. That was from Doug on Facebook. Thank you, Doug. All right. Let's see. Question number 2 in Mike's mailbag. In Howie Roseman's tenure, where does he rank in the draft in that time slot? Well, Joe from Facebook. Thank you, Joe. As you're probably aware, there's a controversial question among Eagles fans. There's a lot of gray area here. And while Roseman is the GM, a lot of his tenure has been filled with, did he make the pick? Did someone else make the pick? Who gets credit? Who gets the blame? One thing is this. The Eagles organization has not drafted well, especially over the past few years with some high-profile misses, right? J.J. Arcega-Whiteside hasn't contributed at all over his 2 seasons, while many wide receivers from the same draft class have made an impact to their teams. Most notable, the Eagles, and everyone else, by the way, passed on DK Metcalf. Last year, the team selected Jalen Reagor, and while it's not fair to give up on him, Justin Jefferson was still on the board and had a tremendous season in Minnesota. Doesn't mean he would have had a tremendous season with the Eagles, but I think he's probably a more talented player. So I think the short answer here is Roseman is the GM. The team hasn't drafted well. They've had some hits in his tenure, like Lane Johnson and Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert and Miles Sanders and Derek Barnett and Jordan Mailata and Isaac Seumalo, to name some of the players Roseman has drafted that have contributed. The problem has been the misses. So to answer the question, I think the Eagles organization has been one of the more poor drafting teams in the NFL. They have done a good job in free agency. They have done a good job in trades. They have the 6th best record in the NFL over a 20-year span. They've won a Super Bowl. They've been one of the most consistent teams. Could they have drafted better? Sure. Are they the worst? Not really. However, they have to nail this number 6 pick. All right, Mike's mailbag. If you have a question for next week's Mike mailbag, at Mike Gill Show on Twitter, on Facebook, you can post on our 97.3 ESPN Facebook page. We'll take questions off there as well. This one is from, let's see, Doug on Facebook. How the hell in the year 2021, with all the advances in technology, can there be any pro sports game, preseason included, not have coverage via video or radio, especially when only 2,100 can attend? I guess talk about the Phillies games that have not been on TV. All right, so I'll answer this question really quick. Doug, I'm not 100% sure of the rules on this. I do know that NBC Sports Philadelphia has a lot of paid programming. Like if you go on there and they have a show that's about like a blender or a vacuum cleaner, that was paid for, and they need to air that. You know why? Because there was a pandemic going on, and they had to let a lot of people go. So if someone's paying you for the airtime, you're probably going to take it. So they are likely committed to airing, at least until the season starts, the paid programming. The Phillies' spring schedule was also changed recently, and maybe with that, the block programming could not have been moved. There are also Major League Baseball restrictions on streaming. They can't just say, hey, let's put the game on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, because Major League Baseball has rules that do not allow that. They have exclusive rights that you can't just take their games and put them on YouTube. As for radio, I'm not 100% sure why the game's not on radio. Whatever radio station carries them, whoever's the flagship station may be making more money putting something else on in that time slot. I don't know. So I can't really answer the radio side of things, but there are some rules on the television side. I know it's not what you want to hear on that one, Doug, but it's likely an MLB rules issue. All right, I got time for one more. Al via Facebook. Is trading 3 or 4 slots back in the upcoming draft the best option for the Eagles to gain additional draft capital, especially knowing the team is in rebuilding mode? All right, I'll quickly hit on this one. Al, I love the idea of moving back in the draft, getting more picks. Most people would like the Eagles to take a wide receiver at number 6 or even maybe a quarterback. We don't think that's going to happen. I would rather see them move back, take a guy like Micah Parsons, Caleb Farley, or Patrick Surtain while adding a few picks. Another name that would be compelling to me, Kyle Pitts. He can go anywhere from 3 to 10, so that one's a little dicey. But yes, Al, I like trading back. And that's Mike's Mailbag. If you have a question for next week's Mike's Mailbag, send it in at Mike Gill Show, at the text board, on Facebook, on our website, 973ESPN.com. When we come back, we will talk more about Herrera, the center field, the bullpen situation. That bullpen situation is getting kind of interesting. Who is a name to watch? There's a guy hitting 100 miles an hour down there, and I bet you don't know his name. Well, we're going to tell you about him coming up next.
Sign up now for this year's $1 Million Bracket Challenge. Registration is underway now at 973ESPN.com and the free mobile app until the tournament begins. The listener whose bracket has the most correct will win a $500 golden getaway in Atlantic City. Thanks to our friends at GoldenNuggetSports.com. And the top 20 listener brackets will receive a free bet at GoldenNuggetSports.com. So register for the $1 Million Bracket Challenge.
Hell yeah!
Now at 973ESPN.com or the free mobile app. Must be 21 plus to place a bet. Only available in New Jersey. Free bets are for online sportsbook only. Please see website for terms and conditions.
A national championship.
So head to 973ESPN.com or the free mobile app and register for the $1 Million Bracket.
East Coast Roofing and Siding, protecting what you love and own. East Coast Roofing and Siding, trust us with your family and home.
Hi, I'm Larry Styler.
And I'm Sean Styler.
We'd like to remind you that East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows is a professional business open year-round and has been serving South Jersey since 1979. It seems, however, that many of you feel sorry for us in the cold and hold off calling until spring, along with everyone else. The truth is, we and our families eat as much in the winter as we do in the summer. So call us now while prices and wait times are at their lowest and learn how great financing plans can help you. And please don't feel bad. We have Long Johns and we'll wear them. So call 646-1444 or visit us online at eastcoastroofing.com. If you'll call, we'll show up.
East Coast Roofing and Siding, trust us with your family and home.
Mom, I'm hungry. Popcorn?
We should live stream this.
Already am. With this new plan from Walmart Family Mobile, I get 40 gigabytes of high-speed data for under $40 a month. It's a limited time deal. Ooh, watch out, loose ball.
Whoa.
That's double the data with no contract or surprise fees. Yay, buzzer beater. All powered by T-Mobile's nationwide network. Makes me feel like I'm a step ahead. Available at Walmart. Double data ends July 31st, 2021. Hotspot does not double. See terms at myfamilymobile.com. Walmart Family Mobile.
If you're an athlete or live an active lifestyle, aches and pains can be part of the game. That's where Trifecta Therapeutics comes into play. Trifecta Therapeutics is a premier sports rehabilitation physical therapy center located centrally for anyone in South Jersey, right in Glassboro. Their team of the highest skilled docs takes a unique approach to physical therapy and rehab. Whether you're a weekend warrior or a finely tuned athlete, they treat the pros and the Joes. To find out more about Trifecta Therapeutics and how they can help you, check out trifectatherapeutics.com.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
As a minimalist, paying less for insurance is more.
Nice place. Is your house a bubble?
It's a dome. I find corners unnecessary.
At Liberty Mutual, that's how we feel about overpaying for insurance.
But I do miss having shelves.
What would you put on them?
Nothing, obviously.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Are you one of the millions of Americans who experience occasional bloating, gas, or abdominal discomfort? Join the Align Healthy Gut Team Up and see how healthy your gut can feel. Align contains a quality probiotic strain developed by gastroenterologists. It adds more good bacteria to your gut to naturally help soothe your occasional digestive upsets with continued daily usage. This is the time to join the Align Healthy Gut Team Up from the #1 doctor-recommended probiotic brand. Sign up at alignprobiotics.com.
It's crunchy!
Creamy!
Sweet.
Salty. Nature Valley sweet and salty peanut bars. Bursting with crunchy peanuts, dipped in creamy nut butter coating.
Delicious.
Nature Valley.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Sports Bets Live in the 4 o'clock hour. It's brought to you by Prop Swap, where America buys and sells sports bets. Go to PropSwap.com. The over-under for Phillies is what, 80-81? I'll ask Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad, who covers the Phillies. And the best thing to do, you buy that Phillies ticket at PropSwap.com, or you go to the casinos, what you do. You go to the sports book. You buy the ticket, over or under. Bob, over or under, what's it, 81?
Yeah, if you're giving me 81, I think I've seen 81.5 out there a little bit. I'll take the over this year on the Phillies.
So you buy the over, and then, you evaluate that ticket somewhere in early September, and then you can post that ticket at PropSwap.com. And if you feel like you're going to win, you can get good value, start watching the bids. That's how it works. Go to PropSwap.com and check that out. So 81, how do we get there? All right, this will be fun. We talked a lot about Herrera when you were on last week. Haseley has since gotten hurt. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you'd be kidding yourself if you wouldn't have said here that Odubel Herrera probably has a better chance of making this team than he did a week ago when we last talked,
I got a prediction for you, Bob.
Yeah.
Playing center field on opening day will be Odubel Herrera. There's a right-handed pitcher going for the Braves. He bats lefty, and I think you'll see Herrera bat. The interesting part would be, where does he hit? Because, and I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but he hit leadoff and third for the most part in his all-star season. So I think at this point with Haseley out, he almost starts opening day, no?
Yeah, we'll see. There's the whole PR consideration. The whole thing that we've talked about a couple times already, it's still a part of the equation. But the Phillies really do seem willing to give Odubel Herrera a chance. It looks like he's getting a fair shake here. He's played a lot early on. He's played well. Seems to me like even if we get some pushback from the fans here, understandably so, that the Phillies are committed to giving him a real look. And right now, I think
I got from Girardi yesterday.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I got that from Girardi yesterday. He essentially said, look, he got punished. We can't punish him anymore. He's here. We got to do what we got to do.
Yeah. Scott Kingery hasn't played all that well. Roman Quinn doesn't make enough contact. I think that last year the Phillies really were high on Roman Quinn, and then they saw him hit 213 and strike out a ton. And I think they look at the upside of Odubel Herrera, and they need a little bit more punch. They need every advantage that they can get. And if he's the best player, I think the Phillies are going to roll him out there. They'll probably hit him 6th or 7th. They won't put him in a key spot in the lineup. They won't hit him lead off, I don't believe, or anything like that. But I do very much believe that it's possible at this point that Odubel Herrera, and it's not a long shot anymore. I think he's very much in the mix here to get this job.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard anything from, I don't know who's even down there covering the team on a daily basis with the COVID and everything, but has there been reaction at all? They played at home the other day. There's only a handful. I got to be honest with you. It looked like there's a lot more fans at that Yankees game than there are at the Phillies game. But have we heard anything about what kind of reaction he's getting?
No, and I don't know if that's just a product of that the atmosphere doesn't necessarily lend itself to that booing. Are you going to boo down there and in Clearwater? Are you really getting true hardcore Phillies fans that are going to have the type of opinions that we're going to see once they come north?
In a normal year, yes, maybe not now. They're letting 2,100 fans, I believe, something like that, 2,100, whatever it is. It's a very limited amount of fans. And you're right, there's a lot more.
And how many of those people are coming from the north to be at those games, right? Is it the Phillies fans that just happen to kind of live in the Clearwater area that are going to those games at this point? It's funny you talk about coverage. There are not many people down there right now. I believe that Todd Zalecki is down there from MLB.com, and I believe that Matt Gelb of The Athletics down there. And other than that, I know the Inquirer hasn't sent their writers. Certainly, this year I would have been down there in a normal year. That's not happening.
Our guy Frank's going, I think, next week.
Okay.
Yeah, he's going for a little while, for about a week. So, yeah, we'll have a guy down there. But normally he would have already been there. And, yeah, so he'll be down. But you're right. There's not very many people down there. So I'm just interested to see if there was a lot of reaction at all. Because Frank was on and made a point that, well, they're playing him in Tampa. he's on the road. Actually, I think the first game he started was he in Lakeland, and he's like, they're on the road. They're probably trying to keep him away from the fans. Well, he's played at home the last couple of days, and he's played well. I don't want this whole conversation to be taken up by him, but that's a very interesting. When Hazley got hurt, it really opened up a possibility. But what I want to get from you, Bob, is the bullpen battle, and what are you seeing here? Because it went from they had a historically bad bullpen to now they got almost, I don't want to say too many arms, but they're going to have a lot of interesting decisions to make. And I know Spencer Howard impressed you when he threw the other day.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, Spencer Howard's velocity was up. He was impressive. Bryce Harper talked the other day about how good Spencer Howard looked. He looks like a guy that is physically back to where he was last spring training. I think that he really got derailed by that stop and start a year ago. They have a decision they have to make. I mean, Spencer Howard's only thrown more than 100 innings once in his professional career. I do not believe, and I've said this, I believe on this show, that I don't think that he's going to be in the opening day or come north in the starting rotation. I think they want to limit his innings. So do they start him at the alternate site and keep him in AAA and manage him that way, or do they say he's one of our best guys, we have to start him in the bullpen? My sense is they're going to do that. You talk about what this bullpen is going to look like. Listen, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here. They've looked good.
Get us excited.
They've looked good for, 8 or 9 days. They have velocity. They have guys that have impressed. You even saw J.D. Hammer out there yesterday hitting 97 on the gun. That's a gear he didn't previously show. It all looks really good right now. That doesn't necessarily equate to what's going to be a top 5 bullpen in the NL, but they have options, and they're going to have to make decisions on guys. Do you go with a Spencer Howard and a Vince Velasquez if Matt Moore and Chase Anderson both win the rotation spots? It's hard to see. A guy like David Hale, who's currently on the 40-man, a guy that I think at one point probably looked like he would grab that 7th or 8th spot. To me, he's on the outside looking in right now. A guy like Sam Coonrod, he's going to have to execute throughout the spring, I think, or otherwise they could start him in AAA. These are guys that they've all of a sudden have given themselves some options. It's not like if the 7th and 8th guys don't pitch poorly, they don't have better options and they're just going to go with them. These guys really have to win spots now.
Yeah, and they got 2 non-roster guys who I would imagine are favorites to make the team. That doesn't happen often either.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely a big part of it. I mean, Brandon Kinsler, I think is not a lock, but I think is probably at this point it's a pretty good bet that he will be part of this bullpen. And I think that they like the look that Watson gives. He's a guy that can get out lefties and righties, and again, another veteran type. So if you're going to roll with your Connor Brogdons and your younger guys and Spencer Howard, who isn't really a true reliever by definition, I think you want that veteran presence at the back end as well. So it's a nice little mix that they have going on right here. And I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself and say it's going to be a strength of this team, but it certainly looks like a bullpen that can give them professional innings.
All right, Jose Alvarado, what are we thinking about him? I mean, was he a guy that was in the mix, not in the mix? If he wasn't, is he? Because I'm imagining a guy hitting triple digits on the gun is going to start making you open their eyes. And he comes from a nice organization. They obviously went out and got him.
Yeah, I think when they acquired him, the thought was, let's get this guy in shape. Let's get him back in a place where, the thing he wants is consistency. He doesn't want to bounce around and be a 6th inning guy one day, an 8th inning guy another day. He wants consistency. Everybody down there is just raving about him. I mean, you talk to the Phillies position players, you talk to Joe Girardi, and they are just they're like fawning over the guy right now. He's a lock. I mean, he barring anything crazy over the next 3 weeks, he is absolutely going to be a late inning option for this team.
All right, so Bradley, Neris, Alvarado, Watson, Kinsler, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many do you put in your bullpen to start the season? They got 26 now this year?
Yeah, that's the debate here. Do you go 8 or 9 deep, right? And so you said it. I think that you have Alvarado, you have Bradley, you have Neris, Kinsler, Watson. Does Spencer Howard factor into that mix? Does Vince Velasquez factor into that mix? It gets very, very interesting. Connor Brogdon, I think, is one of the 8. If they go 8, I do believe that he's in that mix as well. You just look at where his changeup's at right now and the way that he's evolved in such a short amount of time. Yep. The way that he finished last September, he was outstanding. I think that Connor Brogdon's definitely in that bullpen come opening day.
Then you got JoJo Romero. You got Ranger Suarez. These are guys Romero pitched well last year. Suarez was pitching well, and unfortunate things happened to him. But he would be another guy that we haven't heard much about. Now, today they did not play. As we shift to a quick look at the starters, Eflin is going to throw on the side today just to keep his turn going. And then tomorrow, now last week we asked, do you read into Velasquez starting? They flipped them. So Velasquez will start tomorrow and Moore will relieve. So those two guys are seemingly there in a competition. And then Howard and Anderson. Now, Anderson does have bullpen experience. So that little 4-person battle is very intriguing to me.
Yeah, I think that they're kind of just being diplomatic with it right now. You know, they're not just handing out that spot and saying, hey, Matt Moore, you're our guy. Hey, Chase Anderson, you're our guy. But I think the way that we saw it last week is the way that they currently envision it. We'll see what happens. But I don't believe, like I've said now a couple times, Spencer Howard is going to be one of the 5. I think it's going to be Moore, and I think it's going to be Anderson. I think the Phillies have just, Vince Velasquez can go out and pitch well. He was really impressive last week, but I just think that the Phillies have seen enough of that where they're not going to be seduced by Vince Velasquez if he throws the ball well 4 or 5 times down in Florida this month. All
right. Bob Wankel, Crossing Broad, Phillies. Anything else that has kind of caught your fancy? Wheeler didn't throw well the other day. I mean, he had that one, give up the grand slam. Other than that, but anything else that has kind of jumped out at you?
No, I'm a little bit concerned about Scott Kingery. Just seems like a guy that's still trying to feel his way through things, still trying to find himself. I feel like this fan base up here is just waiting on Scott Kingery. I just don't, to be perfectly honest with you, if you want one negative or one setback I've seen, he just, to me, hasn't been particularly impressive. But the other thing I think is just starting to look out here. The first 10 days or so, it's about, hey, let's kick off some rust. Let's get into the flow of things. I think this is the week now, starting this week, where you can really start to evaluate guys and start to evaluate the performance a little bit more. Keep an eye on Bryce Harper. He still hasn't played in the field. I don't think we're going to see him in the field for another week. Talking about how the guy couldn't throw a baseball at the end of last season. He's starting to rev up the throwing program a little bit, but until he goes out there and does it, you just want to see him go out there and make some throws.
And then him and Hoskins and Real Muto, I guess, got the cast off, hopes to be ready for opening day. And Hoskins, I guess, will be ready for opening day.
Yeah, I mean, Reese played last week in a game, then he played off on a simulated game the other day as well. So he's starting to get at bats. I don't think there's any concern about that injury really lingering in terms of his inability or his ability to play. So right now, Adam Hazley aside, guys are healthy, things are on track. Phillies look okay. Phillies look kind of solid here. But again, we'll see what they're going to do and how they're going to stack up with just an ultra competitive division.
Do you think, now, let's just say they loved what Herrera's doing. Could you see a situation where he platoons with McCutchen in left field?
Yeah, I think that Odubel Herrera could probably play a little bit in left this year. I think that that's a possibility, especially.
Or if Hazley came back and they used him as the lefty bat, and would they want to platoon McCutchen, or do they want him to play every day?
I think the idea is to have him play most of the time. Okay. Well, you're still talking about a guy that's 34 years old. Is he going to play 120 games this season? Probably not. If you can get 125 good ones out of Andrew McCutchen, I think that 125, 130 starts is probably the best case scenario for him.
All right, Bob Wankel, Crossing Broad, Phillies getting ready, spring training. We'll have plenty more as they get ready for opening day. They'll play the Braves. And, of course, we'll have more on the Phillies with Bob. Bob, appreciate it, man.
All right, Mike. Talk to you soon.
All right. He, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Bob and I will do more regular Phillies hits throughout the season. And always good conversation with Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad. Good Phillies guy, good baseball guy, if you will. 5 o'clock hour. Can you believe we're in the 5 o'clock hour already? This show has been one of the fastest shows I think I've ever done. And it's because you guys who are watching the show are doing a great job in the comments section. We will get back into this Eagles news with Jalen Hurts, Brandon Brooks, and, of course, you guys on the draft, people throwing your draft ideas out at me, at Mike Gill Show on Twitter. Hit me up there. Mike's mailbag in the books. Good first edition. Appreciate all the questions that came in for week number 1. If the Eagles are all in on Jalen Hurts, what should they focus on in the draft? We'll get into that. We'll get into, is Jeffrey Lurie too involved? All that more. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. And by the way, what Adam Kaplan said about Kyle Pitts on Friday's show is why they could take him in the draft. We'll have it for you.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action.
They scored!
The Flyers host the Buffalo Sabres tomorrow. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN and listen live on the free mobile app.
On some models excludes Corvette with GMF financing, excludes prior sales. See dealer for details. If you've been waiting for the best deal you can find on a brand new Chevy, then your wait has paid off big time. Right now, during Bennett Chevy's March Markdown event, you can save up to 25% off many of our most popular models. That's right. With Bennett Chevy's famous GM supplier employee pricing, plus you keeping all the rebates, that's up to a whopping 25% off MSRP. Plus, for a limited time, there's 0% financing available on our hottest Chevy models. Got an old beater? Get it to Bennett for an unbeatable $7,000 minimum towards any pre-owned vehicle in stock. That's at least $7,000. Imagine what we'll pay for a good trade. And our non-commissioned sales staff is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. So buying at Bennett's always a pleasure with no need to negotiate, plus there's never any sales pressure. Get to Bennett Chevy during our March Markdown event and find new roads. Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
We know you're spending a lot of time at home, and maybe that home could use a little TLC. Since going to a home show isn't really a thing right now, 97.3 ESPN FM is bringing the home show to you. Local exhibitors have been setting up in a virtual show featuring the latest products and services for your home. Go to 97.3ESPN.com to find great articles on home improvement tips and trends. Thanks to our friends at Broadleys Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Broadleys.net, your trusted source for 3 generations.
Heard the good news about COVID-19 vaccines? They're here, but you can do more than wait for your turn. Here's how. Stay at least 6 feet away from folks you don't live with. And it's risky to be indoors with them too. And masks? Well, they protect both the person wearing them and the folks around them. Wear a mask, watch your distance, and make a big difference now.
Learn more about vaccines at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Did you know just the simple act of dressing for work can make you more productive? According to a recent study by the Wall Street Journal, getting dressed for work each morning can even improve your performance. Untucked shirts are the easy way to look sharp instantly, and they're designed to be worn untucked so you'll stay comfortable all day long. So for your next Zoom call, lose the t-shirt and grab an untucked shirt instead. It'll also be your go-to when we start returning to all the things we've been missing. Try one today at any Untucked store or at untuckit.com. Untucked shirts, designed to be worn untucked.
Making popcorn for movie night?
Whoa, who are you?
This is your wake-up call from TracFone Wireless. What if every time you tried a new streaming service, you had to buy a new TV?
That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, some wireless companies do that when you switch, make you buy a new phone.
Right.
But TracFone Wireless lets you keep your phone and your number and your network, and gives you unlimited talk and text starting at $20 a month.
Seriously, who are you?
This is your wake-up call, people. TracFone Wireless. Now you're in control. Oh, you're burning it.
Oh, no.
See terms and conditions at TracFone.com.
If you're struggling with a drug or alcohol addiction, now is the time to take action and get professional help. Call Recovery Centers of America at 1-888-RECOVERY today. You are worthy of recovery from your addiction, and calling RCA will be your first step in getting the help you need. Recovery Centers of America answers the phone and admits patients 24/7. And because safety is a top priority, all patients and staff are routinely tested for COVID-19. RCA's expert team of physicians and medical professionals will treat you with compassion and dignity and provide an evidence-based treatment plan that is custom-tailored to your specific needs. Recovery Centers of America at Devon and Lighthouse are local and in-network with insurance providers, so they're best-in-class inpatient and outpatient care, offered both in-person and via teletherapy, is affordable and accessible. Make this the year you conquer your addiction. Call today, 1-888-RECOVERY. That's 1-888-RECOVERY.
Dell's semi-annual sale is the perfect time to power up productivity and gaming victories. Now you can save what Dell employees save on high-performance tech. Save 17% on the latest XPS and Alienware computers with Intel Core processors. Plus, check out exclusive savings on Dell monitors, headsets, and accessories for greater immersion in all you do. Upgrade today by calling 800-BY-DELL. Again, that's 800-BY-DELL, or you can visit Dell.com/semi-annual sale.
the radio home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. WENJ, WENJ-HD, Millville, Atlantic City, 97.3 ESPN. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
All right, last hour of the show, but don't forget, coming up, it's game night tonight. Is that tonight, McCormick? Kevin McCormick, 620. I'm Mike Gill. I'm enjoying today. I really am. It's been a good show. We appreciate everybody on board all the time. And we hope to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And the way we do that is you guys out there. If you're watching the show, share it wherever you're watching, whatever platform you're on, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Hit the share button, hit the like button, hit the retweet button, hit whatever you got to do to get more people aware about the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. And don't forget, download the free mobile app so you can take the show with you wherever you go. It's powered by our friends at First Bank of Sea Isle City. You can even watch the show on your phone. So if you're in the car listening to the show on the radio, we always appreciate those people. You can watch the show at 973ESPN.com. Adam Kaplan was on with us on Football at 4 last week. We've had a lot of conversation about the draft. Today, an interesting conversation came up considering that Jeffrey Lurie, the report from Chris Mortensen, the owner, Jeffrey Lurie, has instructed his group to prioritize Jalen Hurts making him successful in the season coming up here. So what does that actually mean? What does that actually mean? Let's dive into it a little deeper with you guys out there. 609-403-0973. Reporter Chris Mortensen from ESPN says the Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie has instructed his group to prioritize making Jalen Hurts successful in 2021 as opposed to creating true competition. In other words, you're not drafting a quarterback at number 6. I don't have a problem with that. So what does it mean moving forward here? 609-403-0973. We've talked a lot about what you do at number 6 now. Do you trade back? Do you take a receiver? Well, it sounds like they want to do something to prioritize getting a weapon for Jalen Hurts. What could that weapon be? Well, how about Kyle Pitts at number 6? This is what Adam Kaplan said on Friday's show.
Let me explain to you what an NFL offense coordinator told me, and I put this on our show. The coach called him an OW, which is offensive weapon. He goes, he's not a tight end. He's an X receiver, which is a single side receiver. The guy typically doesn't move very much. Whereas the Z, which is really to me what Rager's position will be moving across the formation. If you put Pitts with Rager, with Fulgham, with Sanders, with Goddard, my God, the options in the pass game, show me a better team in terms of pass targets.
Yeah, so tell me about this. He said basically that he is a OW. All right, this is what Kaplan said about Kyle Pitts' scouting report.
This is a Philadelphia area, suburbs-born guy, and he's long, over 6'6". And here's one thing, I'll give you a nugget. Teams tell me when they've gotten, the coaches have got done the tape already. Really a willing blocker, much better blocker than you think. He just rarely was asked to play in line. And he's a high-character kid, by the way, from the early studies. We're still 2 months away from the draft. The early information I have is he's a really great kid.
All right, so that's what we told you about that. Now, the story out there, it's why we put this together, because you look at what Mortensen reported today. He essentially said he has instructed his group that Jeff Lurie has told the powers that be that they will prioritize making Hurts successful in 2021. So what is the piece that will make him most successful? Is it the offensive line? Is it another wide receiver? Is it an offensive weapon like Kyle Pitts? All very interesting things. Let's go to your comments coming in right now over on the chat board, 609-403-0973. You want to jump on the phones, 609-573-3776. Frank is watching the show on YouTube, says, I don't agree with trying to trade Brandon Brooks. I don't either, Frank, at all. 100% against trading Brandon Brooks. I have no scenario in me other than the fact that I cannot find another way to get under the cap. I would almost rather release Fletcher Cox than Brandon Brooks. And you might say that's preposterous. Not to me. The offensive line is the most important part of the team, and Brandon Brooks has the ability to make this offensive line one of the best in football. I am not getting rid of Brandon Brooks. So I want to read what Frank said. He said, I don't agree with trying to trade Brooks. You have a good offensive line with him. If you trade him, you automatically are putting a lesser player in that position. Eagles make no sense sometimes. Frank, if they got rid of Brandon Brooks, that would make no sense. Now, he follows it up by saying, I know it's hard when you have to get under the cap. You can get under the cap without getting rid of Brandon Brooks. People are acting like this cap problem is this, like they can get under the cap. It's not as difficult as it's being made out to be. There's going to be a couple of little obstacles. It's not like the Saints. The Saints are $48 million over the cap. Let's go to Kyle Dubray, who's watching on YouTube. Kyle says, can I throw something out about the Eagles and Wentz? We traded our first-round pick after he won the Super Bowl. The pick becomes Lamar Jackson. Oh, that's preposterous. I'm getting off that. We passed on the MVP. The Eagles weren't drafting Lamar Jackson. So you're saying you're kind of like circumventing the whole situation. They were not going to take Lamar Jackson at 32 if they stayed there. They traded the first-round pick. That's when they took I want to say Goddard, but they weren't drafting Jackson in that spot. You're making it like if they would have stayed at 32, they would have drafted Lamar Jackson. But that's not the case at all. At all. They already had Carson Wentz, so they're not going to do that. All right, 609-403-0973 on the text board. That's the interesting part about this report is this. The fact of the matter that Lurie has instructed the group to prioritize making Hurts successful as opposed to creating a true competition. He is essentially saying that Hurts is the man. He is the guy. He's the guy that we're going with. And I have no problem with that at all. I think it's the one thing that I am all in about with what Lurie's saying here. I don't want to see them take a quarterback at number 6. I also, though, am against the fact that they have taken calls on Brandon Brooks. Now, we talked about this with Moshe during Football at 4. Are they just taking calls from Brooks because other teams know you have cap problems? Or are you in a situation where you are calling people because you need a dump salary? I don't think it's the latter. I think it's the former. I think they're getting calls because people know you have cap problems. But here's what I'll say. What are you getting for Brandon Brooks? I wouldn't be shocked if they said, look, if you want Brandon Brooks, we're willing to trade him because we have cap problems, but we want, I don't know, you can't ask for a first-round pick for Brandon Brooks. Would they take a second for Brooks? Would that be something that you'd be willing to do? I don't love that either. I keep Brooks. I got 2/3 this year. I'm in a position where I think my offensive line coming back makes me a hell of a lot better than I was last year. And I'm talking a hell of a lot better. You won 4 games this year. You were in a bunch of games. I don't know how. You were in a bunch of games. They won 4 games this past year with that offensive line and that quarterback play. You bring back a better offensive line and have half-decent quarterback play. I'm not saying you're winning the Super Bowl, but as I said before, with that offensive line back healthy, they make the playoffs. All right, some more stuff today. Brandon Brooks, apparently they have been talking about trading there. The Zach Ertz stuff, I want to get back into that a little bit because we talked about it with Moshe. Ertz would like to be released. So Ertz would like to be released instead of traded. But Moshe brought up, and this is his expectations are even less than mine. I said a 4th. He said you'd be lucky to get a 4th. And look, I tend to agree with him. I said a 4th is probably the best that you can do. No one's giving you a 3rd for Zach Ertz, in my opinion. You can call and start at 3rd and probably say, hey, we want to start at a 3. Can we do this? You go back and forth. And then it ultimately comes back to, hey, we'll give you a 5th. We'll give you a 4th. So I think that you might be in a situation. these teams in the NFL know that you have to get rid of Ertz. They know it. They know you have to get rid of Ertz. Why am I giving you anything? Now, the problem becomes if he becomes a free agent and you're a team that you don't think, like you would have to have knowledge that he wants to play for you to take the chance to let him become a free agent. But at the same time, you would also know that he has to be released because the Eagles aren't keeping him. So I'm reading this chat on the side, and there's the guy is trying to suggest that the Eagles would have taken Lamar Jackson had they stayed at 32. Wow. And he's talking to Dank Burrito. I'm wondering if him and Dank are hanging out together and that he's had too much Dank Burrito. You see what I'm talking about there? He's essentially saying that the Eagles could have had Lamar Jackson because they had the 32nd pick. They traded it to Baltimore. Baltimore took Lamar Jackson. But the Eagles were not going to take Lamar Jackson even if they stayed at 32. Right? They're not taking Lamar Jackson if they're at 32. Just because they traded the pick doesn't mean they would have picked the same player. Wow. Okay. Kyle Dubry, you've made my day as probably the dumbest chats person. You have succeeded in bouncing Murphy Brown from dumbest chatter. But I appreciate you watching and chatting along. But somebody has to win the award every day for worst comment in the comments section. Murphy Brown typically wins. Today, Kyle Dubray, you are number one worst chatter in the comments section today. But you win a prize on that. I mean, you can say, hey, I had the worst comment of the day. They weren't taking Lamar Jackson. If they had the 30th, the 31st, the 32nd, the first pick of the second round, and further on, they would not take Lamar Jackson in that spot. So just because the team that traded for that pick ended up taking Lamar Jackson doesn't mean the Eagles would have also taken Lamar Jackson in that spot. The reason they traded that pick out is because they had no interest in taking Lamar Jackson and somebody else did. All right, 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. All right, let's go and take a look at some of these. By the way, somebody asked earlier, will Ertz be traded this week? If you go to our website, 973ESPN.com, there is a story that suggests that he could be traded in the coming days. The problem I have with this is why would a team trade? The only thing that's good about that, if you're the Eagles, in my opinion, is this. If you're trading him in the coming days, somebody's targeting him. They want him on their team. Are they afraid that if he cut him, that they are a team that is not in the play to get him? You know, like let's say the Detroit Lions really want Zach Ertz. But if Zach Ertz gets cut, Zach Ertz ain't signing with the Lions, although he might. I mean, Deuce Staley's there. Maybe he has a friendship with him, but I don't know that to be true. So a team that thinks they want Ertz but can't get Ertz, that's one of the teams that would be reaching out. That's one of the teams that would be like, hey, we're going to go all out to get Zach Ertz. But other than that, I don't know in the coming days if that makes any sense. Again, unless you're a team that really says we don't think we have a shot to get him, but we want to jump in on this really quick. Still don't think you're going to get all that much. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. I want to go back to the Hurts thing. So if you listen to the Mortensen audio today, all right, take a listen to this. This is Chris Mortensen on the NFL mock draft special this weekend.
Jalen Hurts is the guy. Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the Eagles, has basically sent the message to his personnel department and his general manager, Howie Roseman, that he wants to do everything he can to help Jalen Hurts be successful and not bring in somebody to compete for the job. Now they have a new head coach, Nick Sirianni. He understands that's what the owner wants. What the owner wants, the owner gets.
What the owner wants, the owner gets. They have a new coach in Nick Sirianni. Guess what? When Sirianni interviewed for this job, I'm imagining he was asked, hey, are you okay with Hurts? Look, this whole thing goes back again because, man, there's so many things to go back on because when Sirianni was – remember we were talking about if you came in and said, hey, I don't want to work with Wentz, that you would be disqualified for the job. There were some of the reports was like, hey, they want to give Wentz the opportunity here. Well, that kind of fizzled up in their face. Here's the thing. Jeff Lurie is essentially saying, we're riding with this guy here. We're going with Hurts, and he's letting everybody in the personnel department know that. So he has instructed his group to prioritize making Hurts successful in 2021 as opposed to creating competition. So that is the key. When you say I'm prioritizing making Hurts successful, let's read into that. Joey D is watching on Facebook. He says, Gil, I think Lurie learned that when you give a good quarterback stable weapons, he will succeed. So the news from Lurie is great for Hurts. I agree, Joey D. This is good news for not only Hurts, it's good news for the organization. Because I think the kid Hurts can play, and I think they have other holes that they need to fill, that if they do fill, instead of taking a quarterback and having a quarterback battle, that you've wasted having the 6th pick in the draft. Because I don't think a quarterback that you're taking at number 6 is going to make this organization all of a sudden that much better. I don't think any of the quarterbacks in this draft at number 6 are going to be a significant upgrade over Jalen Hurts. So stick with Hurts, go that direction, and do what Lurie said. Look, it's funny. We talk a lot about being a football guy and that the owner needs to stay out of it. You know, the owner has been the owner of a football team for 30 years. At what point is being the owner of the team and being around a football team every day, does that turn you into a football guy? Does that ever get taken into consideration? Like, if you watched a football game every Sunday for 30 years, wouldn't you essentially be a football guy at some point? Like, maybe, I'm not saying that Jeff Lurie is like some great scout, but doesn't he possibly have some idea about football after being the owner of a football team for 30 years? Because he sure sounds like it right now. He's saying, hey, I want you to prioritize Jalen Hurts. This is the guy that we're going to go forward with. Because I totally support that. Now, the other things I don't support trying to trade Brandon Brooks. The Ertz stuff I totally understand and I don't have a problem with. Jeff Bone and Pookie's watching on YouTube. Says it's not always on the quarterback. Who's around the quarterback that can help him win those Super Bowls, though? We won and Foles was a backup. Here's the thing. It's not always on the quarterback, but this team it was. The quarterback was abysmal in 2020. Abysmal. And I think you're going to see how abysmal the quarterback was for this team. That doesn't mean that Wentz is going to go to Indianapolis and be abysmal. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is he was abysmal on this team last year. I don't think this team was as bad 4-11-1 if they're healthy and the quarterback plays good. If the quarterback just plays competent football, he didn't. You know that, and I know that. The quarterback was incompetent last year. Incompetent. It got him traded, and it got the team 4-11-1. They have holes. They do have holes. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. And don't forget, we'll watch the show live at 97.3ESPN.com. Live video. Did anybody ever see I forget what channel was it on, but they did the documentary on like the pizza in America, like how pizza like took off in America. It was like Pizza Hut and like Domino's, and like pizza was not really something that was an American delicacy. And then all of a sudden, like these commercialized pizza places came in. They weren't pizza guys. They became pizza guys. You know what I mean? Like the Pizza Hut guy had no idea how to make a pizza. He said, you know what? They don't have pizza in certain areas of the country, so we're just going to put like these chain pizza places out there. But after being in charge of the pizza place after so long, you become a pizza guy. Could Jeff Lurie now be like a pizza guy, a football guy? He now knows, hey, that kid can play quarterback. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app.
Turn it on. Leave it on. The Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
The all-new Matt Blatt Nissan is receiving a special allocation of new Nissans, and we need your trade. So get out of that old car, truck, or SUV and into a brand new 2021 Nissan Murano. $5,000 off MSRP, plus 0 down and 0% APR financing for 60 months on new in-stock Nissan Sentras and Altimas. Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township next to Home Depot wants to approve your credit today so you can drive a new Nissan with 0 down payment and 0% APR financing, plus our fast-track checkout online at mattblattnissan.com. So bring any trade to Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township or at mattblattnissan.com. On approved credit, negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle. All factory rebates and incentives to dealer. Not all will qualify. 0% APR financing based on $13.33 per 1,000 borrowed. Murano 8 to choose. Offers can't be combined. Call 888-731-5030 for all the details. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
East Coast Roofing and Siding, protecting what you love and own. East Coast Roofing and Siding, trust us with your family and home.
Hi, I'm Larry Styler. And I'm Sean Styler. We'd like to remind you that East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows is a professional business open year-round and has been serving South Jersey since 1979. It seems, however, that many of you feel sorry for us in the cold and hold off calling until spring, along with everyone else. The truth is, we and our families eat as much in the winter as we do in the summer. So call us now while prices and wait times are at their lowest and learn how great financing plans can help you. And please don't feel bad. We have Long Johns and we'll wear them. So call 646-1444 or visit us online at eastcoastroofing.com. If you'll call, we'll show up.
East Coast Roofing and Siding, trust us with your family and home.
So you think you have unlimited data?
Recalculating.
Think again. If you have unlimited data on a network you can't trust, your data is limited, and so are you. Set your smartphone free with the unlimited plan from Total Wireless. Get 4 lines with unlimited data on the nation's best network now with 5G, with 100 gigabytes at high speed, then 2G, for just $25 a month per line.
You have arrived at your destination.
Get unlimited and save. Total Wireless. Do amazing. Available at Target. See terms and conditions at totalwireless.com.
2 chocolate chip muffins coming in. Thank you.
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
Hey, can someone get that?
Like at Claire's Cafe. To satisfy demand for takeout, she needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
If you're struggling with a drug or alcohol addiction, now is the time to take action and get professional help. Call Recovery Centers of America at 1-888-RECOVERY today. You are worthy of recovery from your addiction, and calling RCA will be your first step in getting the help you need. Recovery Centers of America answers the phone and admits patients 24/7. And because safety is a top priority, all patients and staff are routinely tested for COVID-19. RCA's expert team of physicians and medical professionals will treat you with compassion and dignity and provide an evidence-based treatment plan that is custom-tailored to your specific needs. Recovery Centers of America at Devon and Lighthouse are local and in-network with insurance providers, so their best-in-class inpatient and outpatient care, offered both in-person and via teletherapy, is affordable and accessible. Make this the year you conquer your addiction. Call today, 1-888-RECOVERY. That's 1-888-RECOVERY.
Termite season is quickly approaching. Is your home protected? Whether you're renovating or getting ready for spring, stop termites, mice, and ants in their tracks. Visit VikingPest.com for a pest-free home. That's VikingPest.com.
You can watch the Sports Bash live now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Search 97.3 ESPN or visit our website, 973ESPN.com.
5:25 on a Monday tomorrow. Tomorrow the Flyers are back in action. They'll take on Buffalo. They need Buffalo back on the schedule. Flyers looked spent on Saturday. They looked like they had a little bit of gas in the tank in the first period yesterday, and then ran out of gas again. It wasn't good. But Saturday was the more concerning. I mean, you got whipped by Pittsburgh 3 times. You're down 3-0, had to come back. You won that game 4-3. But definitely some concerns there. Durso we'll talk to probably tomorrow. He'll be on game night tomorrow night. Busy week. I'm out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, by the way. Josh will be in for me on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm out the rest of the – I'll be in tomorrow, and then I'm out the rest of the week. And, of course, all this Eagles stuff is happening. I said, you know what? I'm looking at the calendar here. So we got the NCAA tournament coming up on the following week. The football offseason begins on the 17th. The new league year is on Wednesday the 17th. We'll have the tournament on the 19th and the 22nd, of course, the weekend. A lot of Flyers action coming up. Look at this Flyers schedule coming up. Have you guys looked at the Flyers schedule coming up here? I know they got a brutal stretch of games here. They play tonight, Thursday, Saturday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Monday, Wednesday. I mean, jeez. And then in April, it's not much different. Thursday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, Tuesday. I mean, gee whiz. Who put the Flyers schedule together? Well, they just throw darts and see what day it can land on and say, yeah, all right, we'll put you in on that day. Not kind. Not kind at all. They did not look good. Flyers did not look good. All weekend long. Looked tired, looked sluggish, looked like a team that's played a lot of games. And they're going to have a lot of games, so they better pick it up. It was definitely a tough one on Saturday, but yesterday they couldn't get anything going either. Fans back in the crowd in the arena for the first time in a while. All right, so let's get back to the stuff at hand here. Jeff Lurie wants to prioritize making Hurts the starter. That, to me, is a huge story because it looks like that kind of shapes your offseason plan now. That shapes your off-season plan and the draft because now you know that Jalen Hurts is going – I would say likely. It doesn't mean it can't change. It doesn't mean it can't change, but it's likely now that your guy is Jalen Hurts, and I don't have a problem with that. How many people out there, if you're listening or watching the show right now, how many people out there don't like that idea that Jalen Hurts is potential, essentially the owner is backing Jalen Hurts. I said this all last week. I love it. I am thrilled that they finally have said, look, Hurts is the guy. Hurts is the guy that we're going with here. He deserves it. Now, somebody put in the chat over here, and it's not an invalid comment, by the way. It's not like something you're going to sit here and rip, but says quarterback makes a difference. Well, of course the quarterback makes a difference. You do need a whole team, but quarterback play makes a difference. In the playoffs, Lamar Jackson hasn't played well. This goes back to that Lamar Jackson comment. But the point is about the quarterback. He goes on to say, Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl because of Brady. Winston had the same weapons. And by the way, Brady wasn't great. He was very good, but he wasn't, great. But the point is, right, if you remember, if you listen to the show back in, my God, when Brady signed, it had to be March of last year. We had Anthony Becht on the show. And Becht, who played in Tampa, covers Tampa. He does radio for Tampa. And he said he thought adding Brady made them a Super Bowl team. that they were just a quarterback away. That team was good enough. And he was right. They also added a lot of pieces to that team, some key pieces. But here's the thing. There is no Tom Brady in this draft. That includes Trevor Lawrence, who, by the way, I'm not so sure is going to be the savior of a franchise here. I think you're getting Zion Williamson. Hype. Might have your return on that investment might not be what you want. By the way, Zion looked completely out of place in that game last night. He looked gassed running up and down the court. Anybody watch the All-Star game last night? That first series of the game, Zion runs down to the three-point line and then just started running back on the defensive side. I was like, they're not passing me the ball. It was kind of an odd game. I mean, it was a blowout. It was not very entertaining. I kind of basically bailed out at halftime because the slam dunk contest took so damn long. But Zion last night had like 10 points. He didn't make a huge impact, but he just seemed a little bit out of place last night with the rest of those guys running and gunning up and down the court. But I would say Trevor Lawrence to me is like a Zion. And you might be like, well, what does that mean? A lot of hype, yet you'll never be able to match the hype. Does it make you bad? Does it mean you stink? Does it mean you're not good? Just not sure that you'll ever be able to reach the hype that people have put on you. This Jalen Hurts stuff, though, I'm not suggesting like he's better than Trevor Lawrence by any stretch of the imagination. But my point is, I don't know that there's a quarterback in this draft that I'm going to say I need to have over starting Jalen Hurts next year. I think the Eagles are in good hands. It's a good report. The part of the report that bothers you a little bit is the fact that it came from Jeffrey Lurie. That Jeff Lurie, it gives it the perception that Jeff Lurie is meddling too much into the football part of things. And if he's the guy that comes out there and says, hey, we're going to essentially stick with Hurts, we're going to build around him, the messaging isn't the problem. It's who the messaging's coming from. I can totally understand that. But I think the biggest part of it is what happens next. Mortensen reports that there isn't, a unanimous decision inside the front office about Hurts as the starting quarterback this year, but that Lurie has been clear that Hurts should be given the job. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's 100% going to happen, but the owner's the owner. What the owner wants, the owner gets. So if this is what the owner wants, he's going to get it. So Lurie's support would presumably carry more weight than anybody else, obviously. That's an obvious statement. But Lurie getting it out there, I think, is an interesting part. Now, Mortensen said back in February, after the team traded Carson Wentz to the Colts, if you remember, that the Eagles, quote, intend to bring in competition for Hurts. Why did that all of a sudden change? What happened that all of a sudden changed? That, to me, is another whole factor here. How did they do an about face on that whole philosophy? Hey, we want to bring someone in here to kind of challenge. Or did that come from, say, Howie Roseman? And then the owner says, no. That's not the way this is going to go. We're going to do it this way. We're going with Jalen Hurts. And what we're going to do is we're going to support Jalen Hurts. He's the leader. He's the quarterback of this football team. And what we're going to do is something that we didn't do for the other quarterback, or that we tried to do and failed at doing. Maybe we could say that. Is bring in weapons and build the team around the quarterback. 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Stick around. We got the 5 coming up in just about 6 minutes from now. I think this is a very interesting conversation with Hurts because of what this wide receiver class is. I want you to also keep this in mind. All right. This draft class and last year's draft class at the wide receiver position, both very deep and very good. But don't think, well, you can just get a receiver next year or the year after. If you look at next year's draft class for the wide receivers, it's not nearly as good as this year. So if you need a wide receiver, you better get one this year. Keep that in mind. Do you think that plays a factor? Knowing that, you have to know that. If I know that, they have to know that, right? I hope. I mean, I'm not claiming to be a draft expert, but I do love the draft, and I do, this is the time of the year when I start to focus on the draft a lot more. When my girlfriend says, why have you been watching old football games? Oh, I'm just watching these wide receivers. You know what I say earlier? My deep threat, Jalen Waddle. Josh, you agree? Thumbs up. Best route runner, Devonta Smith. He says 100%. Best overall receiver, meaning combine all of it together, Jamar Chase. I love the kid, Rashad Bateman. I think that – now, where do you think Bateman goes in this draft? Do you think he's a first we'll talk to DeCecco about this tomorrow too. Would you say that Bateman – now, somebody put in the chat earlier that Bateman's a first-round pick. I've looked at a bunch of mock drafts, and I don't see him in the first round in any of the mock drafts I've looked at.
So, listen, I think Bateman can be a really good NFL receiver. He's got the physical tools. Part of the problem for Bateman is he came from an offense that didn't run a lot of pro-style concepts. So he's going to come
Minnesota, by the way, for people out there.
So he's going to come in a little bit more raw than some people might like, per se. So that's why I don't think he's a bona fide first-round pick. I think he's a guy like, remember when Michael Pittman Jr. went in the second round to the Colts, or when T. Higgins from Clemson went to the Bengals? They're second-round picks, not because they're bad receivers, but because NFL teams say,
polished.
Right, they're not polished. And that's what Bateman is. Bateman falls into that category. He is with those guys.
You know who I also like this weekend? I'm going to spill this on me. That would have been bad. The kid Tony from Florida. Because I'm watching Trask a little bit,
right?
And I keep thinking this kid Tony's pretty good after the catch.
Tony is a guy who, when he gets the ball in his hands, he's got that ability to make guys miss.
Yep, after the catch, very good.
And I think that for him, he's also a second-round pick in my opinion. But now here's the problem:
if I landed him in the second round, I'm okay with that.
Now here's the thing with Tony. You mentioned earlier about the NFL Combine. Tony's a guy who would be a first-round pick in a year with a Combine.
Well, that's what I said about Bateman.
Bateman, sure, but I think Tony even more
you
so.
You get a guy 6'2", 215 pounds running a 4.4 40. You don't think that would have put him in the first round, Bateman?
End of the first round.
That's what I said. Yeah, I'm saying he probably is like a second or third. Now,
Tony could have been like the 20th pick in the draft if there was a Combine, because he's got a level of explosion that's ridiculous.
Well, that's what I said. To me, after the catch, I left saying I wouldn't mind that guy. And he's big too. Not big, but I mean, he's not one of these 5'10" guys. He's
not Devonta Smith. That's for sure.
Right. He wasn't like, oh God, this guy's going to take a hit and going to get his.
And that's my worry with Devonta Smith. I've been saying it for weeks now. I look at his legs and I see toothpicks, and I'm worried that there's going to be a safety who wants to make a name for himself. Maybe somebody in the NFC East who sees it twice a year. Says, I'm going to blow this kid up, and you're never going to have the guy the rest of the year.
One other guy, and I watched this guy because of DeCecco. I wanted to take a look at Austin Watkins, UAB. Have you seen this kid?
Yes.
6'3", 210 pounds. He opted out of the end of last year.
Correct.
He had 7 games, 34 catches, 468 yards, 3 touchdowns. So he wasn't like jumping off the page. But he would be a day 3 guy, 6'3", 210, that I found to be pretty, like, I'd say bigger, physical, like, doesn't, like John Hightower was like a string bean.
Right.
Speed down the field. He would be like the other guy, more of the possession, caught everything. This guy catches everything.
He's got a little Brandon Marshall in him. That guy who just seems to just, the ball gets in his radius, he just goes and gets it.
I was like, dude, this guy catches every single ball you throw.
Now, there's another guy who I think is better than him, but DeCecco disagrees with me on this.
Okay.
I love Jonathan Adams, Arkansas State. Now,
well, he wasn't on my list this weekend. Sorry.
Sorry. Jonathan Adams, I saw him a bunch of times because Arkansas State became a team that said, hey, you need a team on your schedule, we'll be that team. And they just run everybody's schedule this year, so I saw a ton of them. This dude is a physical freak. Now, DeCecco says he thinks he's a little raw when it comes to route running, but I just feel like there's going to be a team in like the 4th round that looks at this guy and says, or 5th round says, we got to draft this guy. And they're going to turn him into a superstar. This guy catches everything thrown at him. He jumps over people at times. He's one of those guys who makes acrobatic catches easily. And he's phenomenal with catching the ball, with athleticism. And I feel like there's a team that'll say, I can find a place for that guy.
By the way, what you think of the fights this weekend? Anything surprise you?
Well, first of all, I was surprised by the illegal shot by Jan. I mean, what the heck was that? I mean, Peter Jan, you're the champion of the division, and you don't know that you're not allowed to throw a knee to a downed opponent in the face? I mean, what an imbecile. And now they're trying to make it like, oh, well, he got bad advice from his corner. Oh, shut up. He knows better. He was annoyed because him and Sterling don't like each other, and he was mad he couldn't put Sterling away. So now he loses his belt. They'll get a rematch later this summer. I love the fact that Jan Blachowicz, he won the fight. He won the last 3 rounds easily. Adesanya ran out of steam. He fought a bigger fighter, and he learned his lesson, and he owned up to it. And then the middle fight, Amanda Nunes is great. She's incredible. I mean, that girl looked like she was scared out of her wits in there. Megan Anderson.
You knew that at the weigh-in, Megan Anderson had no desire to be there.
You saw in the
should stick to talking about the fights.
She walked in that octagon, and she had a look on her face like, I don't belong.
No. It's March, and that means it's time for college basketball. DraftKings Sportsbook is America's top-rated sportsbook app, and it's giving all new players a chance to cash $100. New customers can bet $1 on any team to hit a three-pointer in any basketball game, and if your team makes it rain, you cash $100. That's right. All it takes is one three-pointer being hit by your team. You win $100. Sounds like a no-brainer? That's right, it is. You know why? DraftKings has paid out over $7 billion to its customers since 2012. So they know a thing or two about a big payday. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use my code 973 to get your shot to turn $1 into $100 when you get any bet on a team that hit a three-pointer. It's that easy. The DraftKings Sportsbook, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Use my code 973. All right, the 5 next.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action.
They scored!
The Flyers host the Buffalo Sabres tomorrow. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN and listen live on the free mobile app.
We know you're spending a lot of time at home, and maybe that home could use a little TLC. Since going to a home show isn't really a thing right now, 97.3 ESPN FM is bringing the home show to you. Local exhibitors have been setting up in a virtual show featuring the latest products and services for your home. Go to 973ESPN.com to find great articles on home improvement tips and trends. Thanks to our friends at Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Broadlees.net, your trusted source for 3 generations.
Recently, Total Wireless helped Charlie Michelle stage a virtual dance recital for her friends and family.
This event was super meaningful to them.
Because when you move to Total Wireless, you can get amazing devices on nationwide 5G. And with unlimited plans starting at $25 a month, you could save up to $1,200 a year.
Thank you, Total Wireless, for helping me pull this off.
Total Wireless. Do amazing. Compatible 5G device required. 5G network in limited areas. Month equals 30 days. Savings claim made when compared to 4-line postpaid plans of leading carriers 10-2020. See terms and conditions at TotalWireless.com.
Are you one of the millions of Americans who experience occasional bloating, gas, or abdominal discomfort? Join the Align Healthy Gut Team Up and see how healthy your gut can feel. Align contains a quality probiotic strain developed by gastroenterologists. It adds more good bacteria to your gut to naturally help soothe your occasional digestive upsets with continued daily usage. This is the time to join the Align Healthy Gut Team Up from the #1 doctor-recommended probiotic brand. Sign up at AlignProbiotics.com.
What you doing? Designing my new 2021 Nissan Kicks Online in the Kicks Color Studio. I give each a special name. This one's electric blue, orange, red, white. I call it the gumball machine. You think it's me?
I feel like you're more of a red velvet guy.
Limitless possibilities. With over 100 million available color combinations and Bose Personal Plus system in the boldly new 2021 Nissan Kicks. Bose is a registered trademark of the Bose Corporation. Color combinations include interior and exterior colors. Customization is an available feature subject to availability at participating Nissan dealers. See dealer for details.
Good morning, Private! Good morning, Drill Sergeant! I mean, seriously, what a pleasant morning. The sun is shining and the birds are chirping. You seem to be in a good mood today. Astute observation.
He's probably happy because he found out Honey Nut Cheerios can help lower cholesterol as part of a heart-healthy diet.
They're even shaped like hearts. So, in lieu of the obstacle course today, I propose a nice meditative nature walk. Does that sound delightful to everyone? Yes, Drill Sergeant!
Happy Heart Shapes are back for a limited time. Learn more about Honey Nut Cheerios by picking up a box at your local store.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry's starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover, all for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 5510 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 5510. Enjoy.
If you're very quiet, you can hear it. The joy, the freedom, the crunch from 100% whole grain oats. Stay outside longer with Nature Valley Oats and Honey Crunchy Granola Bars. We are better outside.
You ready for competition? It's time for 5 questions.
3 ain't enough, man. I need 5. Number 5 will always love you. I got 5 on it. 5 times, not 10, you think.
All right, here we go. Let's take a look at the 5 and see what we got today. As producer Josh just picked these bites out as some of the bites that interest him the most from today's sports bet. So let's see what we've learned. Let's start with this one. All right. Paul Hudrick, inside the Sixers, said this.
They were dangerous before. The James Harden move was the needle moving move. This to me is not. It is a flyer. It is a why not kind of move for the Nets, and it might help them. But to say that this move shifts them in any way, I think is kind of silly, to be honest.
The Nets signed Blake Griffin today. He said it doesn't move the needle.
And I love that he said that because someone had to say it. I'm so tired of people who are freaking out. Oh, Blake Griffin's going to the Nets. It's like, have you watched Blake Griffin this year? The dude shot 36% from the field. You know who shoots 36% from the field? A bench guy. Blake Griffin is a guy who gives you a little something off the bench who may or may not be productive at times.
Yeah, the Blake Griffin 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever it was, when he first got to Detroit, I was very impressed with how he expanded his game. That has since subsided.
He's not that guy anymore.
No.
Paul brought it up to you earlier. The knee injuries. The body's just falling apart at this point.
He did. He said this about what kind of Blake Griffin the Nets are getting.
This is not Lob City Blake Griffin. This is not an all-star anymore. Like this is not the same player. He's had multiple leg injuries. He's never been a great defensive player, so he hasn't gotten any better. He was a great rebounder because he was so explosive. I don't know, like he's not that guy anymore.
If he was the Lob City guy, is that good enough?
I mean,
like, is that style of guy what you need now?
It certainly would be helpful for the Nets because it would give them a little bit more offensive diversity. Because, my biggest question with the Nets is, if all three of those guys don't shoot well for a couple games in a series, what happens? You know what I mean? Like, if Kyrie goes cold, Durant goes cold, Harden goes cold, or one of those guys is injured and the two other guys are cold, what happens to that team? It feels like they're very offense or bust.
Well, that's for sure. They don't play any defense. And Blake Griffin, by the way, is not a great defensive player either. He's adequate. But who knows what Blake Griffin... I just don't know what Blake Griffin you're getting.
Right. Nobody does. If anybody says they know what version of Blake Griffin you're getting, they didn't watch the same Blake Griffin I saw in Detroit this year.
All right, Bob Wankel today talked a little Phillies with us. He said this.
There's the whole PR consideration. The whole thing that we've talked about a couple times already. It's still a part of the equation, but the Phillies really do seem willing to give Odubel Herrera a chance. It looks like he's getting a fair shake here. He's played a lot early on. He's played well. Seems to me like even if we get some pushback from the fans here, understandably so, that the Phillies are committed to giving him a real look.
All right, Odubel Herrera, obviously a controversial conversation for a lot of people, obviously with what happened to him in the past. But are the Phillies giving him a real look? Should they be giving him a real look?
I think what Bob said there was so important. He said they're giving him a legitimate look. They're actually legitimately looking at him as a guy. And I think that is very telling in of itself because, listen, Bob's a guy, you've talked to him numerous times, Mike. He's not someone who just blows smoke. When he says something, there's a reason why he's saying it. And I have to agree with him. I think the Phillies are legitimately looking at Odubel Herrera as a legitimate option for this team because of the way he's playing. And you know what? PR blowback, they don't really seem to, mind too much.
No, in fact, what Girardi said was that Major League Baseball already punished him. And the Phillies can't punish him any more than Major League Baseball already did. That comment from Girardi yesterday, I think it was yesterday anyway. Maybe it was the day before.
It was over the weekend.
Yeah.
I know that. Yeah.
That comment from Girardi kind of suggested to me, as he's saying, Major League Baseball penalized him, and we can't penalize him anymore, and we're just going to go. He's here, and he's in play.
It's one of those deals where it's like time served kind of thing. Like, already he served his punishment kind of thing.
Yeah, Girardi said anybody in camp is a candidate to make the team. So I know that was that's kind of the gist of it. He did say more in the quote that I read over the weekend, but essentially was, hey, he's here. He served his penalty. We're going to evaluate him as if he's in play for a position here. All right. Jeff Mosher, Football at 4, said this about the Jeffrey Lurie, Chris Mortensen report today.
I think it is reflective of a pattern that we've seen over the last few years of Jeffrey Lurie being more hands-on in his decision-making. And we've had this conversation before about the hiring and firing of coaches like Mike Groh. We've had this conversation before about draft picks. We've had this conversation about the vision of the franchise for long term. So clearly this falls in line.
So how do we feel about Jeff Lurie putting his foot down, if that's what's happening here?
As I wrote over at 97.3 ESPN.com, to me, I don't mind Jeffrey Lurie putting his foot down. What I do mind is the fact that there's still a contingent of Eagle fans who don't want to live in that reality. The owner could be sitting there saying, this is what we're doing, but there's a contingent of Eagle fans who still want to blame Howie Roseman. We got to accept the reality that Jeffrey Lurie is more involved than maybe we ever thought or wanted to admit. And listen, he's the owner. He gets what he wants. That's what Mortensen said, right?
He said, yeah, the owner's the owner. He gets what he wants. The owner gets what the owner wants, the owner gets.
Right.
Jalen Hurts is their guy. That's essentially what he said.
And listen, at some point, we just got to start admitting that, when we want to blame, when we point the finger at somebody, maybe start to point, Jeffrey Lurie gets the praise. He doesn't know he's gotten the blame.
And that's something that Mosher said here is this.
If you apply it to this situation, you have to apply it to every situation. Your owner is either going to call shots or not call shots. And if you're going to be happy about him calling shots, then you can't knife him. As I wrote on InsideTheBirds.com today, you can't give him a slap on the back saying, yeah, you're with me, with my guy, Jalen Hurts, but then shove the knife in his back when you don't like his influence on a J.J. Arcega-Whiteside pick.
I mean, the point he's making is valid. Like, it's like we want to pick and choose when we want to blame Howie Roseman. We want to pick and choose when we don't want to give him credit.
Right.
And now he's saying, well, you can't do that with Lurie. If you're giving Lurie credit for saying, hey, go with Hurts, you then also have to then blame him more for some of the problems this team has, not Roseman.
And also don't forget, Lurie is the one who says, hey, I deserve credit for hiring these coaches. I've made some great decisions. Well, if that's his position, then he also needs to take the share of the blame when things don't go right.
All right, there we go. Good stuff today. Good guests today. Good stuff from Paul Hudrick, Jeff Mosher, Bob Wankel, and, of course, you guys out there. Coming up, game night. Kevin McCormick talk a little bit about the Sixers at the break, what's next for them. For more, go to 973ESPN.com. You can always read more from our Sixers insiders. And, of course, for me and Josh, Frank on the Phillies, and Kevin Durso on the Flyers. Great stuff. All right, back tomorrow at 2. Hopefully you'll join me. Don't forget, share the show, like the show, whatever platform you're watching on. And, of course, if you're listening on the radio, download the free mobile app and take us with you everywhere you go. This is the Sports Fast Live on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. Josh Henning produced tonight's show, and I'm Mike Gill. Have a great night, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Game night's up next.
Sign up now for this year's $1 million